Mic check. All right. Yes, well, join the account, of course. Yeah, we'll send the link out in a bit. Let me just let me put the link out. Now, invite. Da, da, da. Welcome everyone to the Betterment Broadcast. I'm your host, Rap Raven. This is, let's see if we can quickly switch back to the PDF that we see best. All right, cool. The Betterment Broadcast, the 175th show. That's 175 times we are working with the community to try to find solutions for Black people. What a good idea. I've put there should be a quicker way to actually let me see. Before I shut that down. Let me shut down my Illustrator file. It's going to take up, that's why my machine's making so much noise. Right, boom, 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 boom. So welcome. Yep, this is the 175th show. I'm just going to see if I can find the Black Better. Tell your friends we're live. Tell your friends to come in. Today is there we go. I found it. Let me just pin this on. Let me mute that so it doesn't have a crazy loop and drive people crazy. And let's see if I can reform that. Yeah, so tell your friends we're live. Obviously, this show works best when people join in and tell a friend to be a friend. And like I said, we're trying to openly find solutions. Pin this message. There you go. So we've done it. So I can leave that because it's done. Don't forget to like. I've added one like on us, so you can guys add like if you like. I'm sure it does something to the algorithm, which is always good. Right, so let's go through our new kind of intro. So don't forget to follow the Betterment Broadcast on Instagram. I shall also post that in the group. So Instagram, just so people can see it. Don't forget to follow that. Now, we are going to talk about our new beginning, and we're talking about the double dilemma. Now, what is the double dilemma? I hear you say in future times and today. What is the double dilemma? Well, one, Black people can be individually efficient, but are collectively inadequate. Very important there. And number two, what is the second dilemma? Black people may know a friendly non-Black person. However, collectively, Black people have no friends. These two double dilemmas, as we say, are very important to remember. I shall bring up everywhere. Whenever people ask why you practicing Black Betterment or what's the issue, we say we are trying to solve the double dilemma, and that is Black people being collectively inadequate, and also Black people collectively having no friends. Now, naturally, you would think, well, let's try to make friends. That would be incorrect. You do not do that. That's right. So the problem is the double dilemma. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is Black Betterment. That's right. So the solution to the double dilemma is Black Betterment. So you're thinking, well, hold a minute. What is Black Betterment? Well, Black Betterment is Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment. Black Betterment is a lifestyle. This broadcast and podcast and all the kind of casts you can find is to promote the lifestyle of Black Betterment and to, by osmosis, educate and push forward and create inspiration and education and all the kind of Asians you can think of to motivate Black people to think as one, as solo, mono, That's what we want to be doing. So let's carry on. So you're thinking about why? We practice Black Betterment. How are we going to do that? So there's three, we call it the triple triumph. So the triple triumph that we're going to always focus on currently, these could shift, but for now, after research, we're saying that these three areas are what we want to be triumphant in. These are the ones that we're going to focus on primarily, and you're going to see a lot of topics correlating with these. Number one is Black families. Constructive Black man with constructive Black woman makes a constructive Black family. Number two is Black economics, Black people owning industries and institutions and supporting Black-owned business. I should say businesses, really. I'll update that. Maybe, could say Black-owned business. And then number three is Black health. Train and exercise regularly, eat healthy plant-based diet with low sodium and sugar, drink plenty of water, and watch your stress levels. We'll neat all that up in the future, but it's just, there you go. So they're the three triple triumph. Don't forget that. These are the three areas of Black Betterment that we focus on mainly and try to kick campaigns around there. There's many areas of activities that Black people engage in, but I would say for the research I've done and others have pushed forward that these three are the primary. So we're going to call them the triple triumph, you see, and they were going to use the triple triumph to tackle the double dilemma. Oh yeah, very nice. when we send out the link, we try to be as constructive as possible. I know many black people out there don't understand why. Why do you want to be constructive? And if you can, try to, just slow down a minute. Why should we practice discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment? Because you want to minimize anxiety when you try to work with black people. There's a good quote a lady on Instagram did. I'll play it if I can find it, just to show you what being identified as black in the world might come with that, and how your mind might process information, and how you might be more prone to certain things. So because of these particular truths, we want to minimize any anxiety, and we do that by practicing dignity, discipline, dedication, and discernment. The 4D values. Isn't that nice? Try to use derogatory language if possible. Sometimes we hear it because we're doing case studies, but generally for our sake, it's just we don't, because sometimes you joyfully use a derogatory language, and then you argue with someone, then it comes in and they don't know if it's joyful or all this kind of stuff. And before you know it, you're effing and blinding at each other on a platform where we're trying to find solutions. I know that's very clickbait heavy in other places, but let's not have that here. We can find other ways we can find other controversial ways to make people click on our stuff by telling the truth. That seems to devastate many people. So we can try that. There you go. All right. So today's fantastic, super megally good topic is abolish interracial marriage. We discuss if interracial marriage should be abolished. This comes from Brother Umar, the Pan-Africanist in the States. Made a statement on the show. I found one clip, so we'll play it in a bit. Made a statement that he wants to abolish interracial marriage. This we talked about last week, so we tried to find. We're going to discuss it. Very important. So tell your friend we're live. We're going to talk about it, unpack it, all that good stuff. And number two, second topic is who gets reparations. I've mocked up a little chart. Let's read this right. Should black people lose reparation claims based on who they marry? Oh no, that shouldn't be capitals, but whatever. Or at least bold. I'll fix it up time. Yeah. Oh, maybe works being bold. Anyway. Who knows? Anyway, yeah. So we look at that. Who gets reparations? We try to unpack a system, a thought process, a thought exercise. Just of like if reparations was delivered, who would get it, how do we do it, or one methodology of doing it. So we're gonna do that. So I just need to quickly open something. Oh, so shall I? Let me see what videos I've got. Video open. Let me see what good ones I can use as a starting point on the first topic, which shall be abolish interracial marriage as a topic. Is that something people should? Let's say it. Hold on. So what we'll do is here's a video. This lady who did this video, I couldn't find the actual original audio, so I had to take it from her video. Now I suspect she identifies as a pink pillar. I think they call them that, and maybe a divester. I could be wrong. Or she might be someone who's not best pleased with black men in general. So I don't think she's best pleased with anything that any black man is doing. But sadly, this is the only video I could get with the quote in it. So I'm just gonna press play. We're not necessarily focusing her attitude or behaviors. We're more focused on the audio, but we might tackle it. But I'll press play now. I need to quickly go get something at the door. So hopefully nothing is said while I'm away. Go.
On my way out the door, and I said, "Wait a second, what?" And I saw this, and I happened to click on it. You see on the screen is Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson made the announcement today that he's going to start a petition to undo the 1967 Loving versus Virginia Supreme Court ruling. He's wanting to, based on the video, his statement, make it where black people, black men and women, we can't engage in interracial relationships. Yeah, listen, I'll let him tell you. Here you go.
Brothers and sisters, I'm going to be starting a petition. I'm going to be starting a petition to undo the 1967 Loving versus Virginia Supreme Court decision. I want to overturn the Supreme Court decision. I want them to revisit it. I want interracial marriage to be illegal in the United States. I want interracial marriage between black and anything else. It can stay legal for everybody else. But for black people, we are too psychologically damaged. For African people, we are too psychologically damaged. And I am starting a petition to reverse the Supreme Court decision of June 1967. I want it reversed. We must make interracial dating between black men and black women and all other races illegal. We must do this to save the black family. We have nothing against the white woman. I respect you, white women. I respect you, Chinese women. I respect you, Latina women. I respect you, East Indian women. I respect you, Mexican women. I respect you, Arab. I have nothing against you. But to save my community, in order to save my race, we have to make bunny hopping a federal offense.
To save your race. What is that going to do about femicide? As if, again, the culture isn't marriage oriented. The culture is.
So this is a lady. I suspect she's in the pink pill community. Those who don't know what that is, that's it's where women divest, or they move away from black men. Many actually move away from the black neighborhood, and that it's almost the female variant of the manosphere kind of red pill sort of. But they probably might be offended if I compare, but they're similar but different. Anyway, but we're not listening here to this. Although we could unpack what she's doing. It's a very interesting topic to go down. But we're more focused on what was proposed. Brother Umar has said, maybe it might be an idea to try to get interracial marriage reversed to save black men. The lady herself, we say, big up Brother Dominic, big up Puko, big up Stanley as well, big up Brother Kel. We're joined by Black Betterment to Brother Kel, who's joined. Black Betterment.
Black Betterment, brother. Very interesting topic, man. Definitely want to unpack this.
There you go. So Brother Umar, he said this. The sister, the thing with the sister is, I suspect that at this certain point she's not best pleased. But one thing she did mention, which we might not unpack now because it's quite deep, but it is femicide, or just men killing women, or black men killing black women on this particular context. Something that we definitely something we have to unpack and make sure we minimize that and make sure that doesn't happen. And there's a whole science behind that. Of how we can definitely try to save our women from destructive men, and how to reform men from ever going down that path. That's a very important, and that's part of the black family building process. One of the triple triumphs that we're trying to unpack. But brother, yeah. So even if it's literally or just a campaign, the concept of talking about reversing interracial marriage, very interesting concept. Something that we're going to unpack here. But let me just think of let me press play for a bit.
Obvious, the numbers don't lie, baby mama oriented. And even within the culture, when we have marriages, most of the time the black women, I'm sorry to tell you, they're carrying the brunt. There are black women that are married. Guess what? She paying all the bills. She is the provider. And if it doesn't apply, you're not that girl, woman, I'm happy for you. If you're a black woman and you have a black man, you both are on the same team to build. Hey, I'm happy for you. But let's not pretend that's the norm.
Okay, so this is not best pleased. He did say one. Let's see if there's any other audio. Hold on. It's pretty much just 20 minutes of them not being best pleased, but it might be one more audio I'm trying to find. It's a shame that he doesn't change his facial expressions, but I can't actually find it.
I'm checking for.
Maybe that was it, but we can move on to.
They know. They think I don't work.
Nope.
Well, I'm getting ahead. To do.
There we go. There's one.
To save his community, sir. Sure. You at the wrong starting line to save your community.
I want interracial marriage between black and anything else. It can stay legal for everybody else. But for black people, we are too psychologically damaged.
Just repeat. That's cool. All right, so let's look at some other contextual videos that might be beneficial. Where's today? I remember the name of them. So let's see this. Okay. So random thing. There's these videos flying around. It came on the algorithm. I don't know if it's joking or not joking, but it's white women saying they love black men, and there's one that came on my algorithm. There was a few others, but I only managed to capture this one, but they were pretty much similar.
Hey, black man. I love you. I appreciate you. I adore you. Ain't nothing better than a black man to be in this world. If you're a black man, you're a king. You will always be a king. Woo-wee.
Okay. I don't know if it's trolling or it's a serious campaign, but for some reason my feed just came on, and naturally, what's more important about these kind of videos is the comment section and how black men react to it. I was also getting a lot of this as well. Let's see, the younger, so that's more the older generation, their stuff, but the younger generation, I was getting. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on. Is that one? Not that one. What race do you prefer? Yeah, this kind of stuff. This kind of question on the streets.
Yours.
Okay, wait. So I'm assuming dark skins?
Yes.
Okay. What do you like about us melanin men?
Respectful, know what you're doing,
Yeah,
easy to look at, culture, the vibes, all of it.
all of it. Okay. Wait, have you ever been with a Nigerian?
I am not.
Yeah. Happy New Year, motherfucker.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Yeah, so this is the kind of behavior that a lot of younger generation are going on all across the board. That's the thing. I think people need context and people need to understand whatever. If you check the videos, a lot of black men might be best pleased with that and being chosen. But then obviously these videos start diverging into things like this. I swear I named all these things, but why do they never come up? Hold on. I know I named them. It's not that one. Let's see. Oh yeah, things like this. Hold on, like this.
So this is the one that I have. I met him in 2014, but he wasn't on the market yet. So in 2016, he was on the market, and I decided to see if it was a good investment for me. However, the timing wasn't really right. So it wasn't until the beginning of 2018 that I purchased this one. I don't know the exact month or day that I purchased this one, but it was in the beginning of 2018. One thing that I love about this one is he can literally do anything, fix anything. If he doesn't know how to do something, he will learn that day. And I mean, look at him. But one con about this model is he's taking a little bit longer than usual to upgrade to fiance mode. So hopefully soon we'll upgrade to fiance mode, but until then, this is my boyfriend haul.
Yeah, so some kind of thing to do. Yeah, but so that's where it goes. It's kind of like fetishizing and but knowing it. This brother also was talking about his dating outside our race, a hidden plot, because some people start seeing consistent kind of dot connecting. Let's see what he has to say.
These type of relationships have been intentionally used to siphon power out of our community. Virginia was passed, a lot of our highest earners and most educated black people started to marry outside the community. And the plan was devious. The goal was to tell black men that instead of building your own power structure within your own community, the existing power structure that denied you access will now grant it to you.
Very important. These are the kind of topics you want to remain on, like leaving the community, economics leaving. But also, what's quite important as well is questions to ask non-black people. So one that might be what I always ask when I see these videos circling European women want to be with African and black men is do you support reparations, which is today's topic. But usually that's when you start, that word usually triggers anxiety and triggers conflict, and it highlights their intentions, and that's very important. Most black men are feeling very good that a non-black person is giving them attention, and a woman, because they like attention from women, and they don't ask these kind of questions. They're more in fancy mode and joke mode, but you want to get them back to earth and go, okay, what's your views on reparations? And then usually that triggers something else. And then, we can actually take it to a decent conversation. Let's carry on listening.
It was a way to make them feel welcomed and assimilate into a community that was not built for them. Those men that at one point would challenge the power structure started to feel included by it. And those women that feel powerless around their own powerful men have found a powerful man that they can be socially dominant over. Because no matter how rich you are, she's still more in control of your life than you are of hers. And now that financial power doesn't go back into our community, but back into the hands of someone that's only there for that financial power in the first place.
So there you go. Very interesting thing there. Let's go back to the topic at hand. The topic is abolish interracial marriage. We discussed if interracial marriage should be abolished. This is the start from the the craze that Brother Umar started with the concept of saying that he wants to reverse interracial marriage. There's a code. I forgot what the code is. Something versus. I should know this, but shame on me. But it's that. So yeah, this is what we're starting now. What's your views on this? Is there any findings? Is this problematic? Is it a good campaign? Does it start a conversation? Are people not best pleased? Funny enough, I did download the video, but he was on. There was a whole show I should have downloaded. He was on, and there was a guy I've seen his show before. Talk about certain things. Jump on the show, and he was calling him a scammer and saying it's okay to it's okay to not date a black woman, whatever. And sometimes you're seeing certain behaviors that's connected to. I think that's one of the codes, right? When you can ask, I said before, when you ask someone, "What's your views on black families?" I've very rarely seen a person who says they don't support black families, or they're okay with you not having a black family and being pro-black or Pan-African or anything like that. Who then goes on to say something that is beneficial and constructive for a long period of time. It's almost like that question is the kind of spirit revealer or something. It shows you a person's true kind of nature. I don't know. It's a very important one. But there's a woman who's saying something that's very important at this point. Let's see if I can find it. This is a very important one.
Racism, black people are taught self-hate. They are taught to fight against themselves and to fight against people who look like them. In this system, these many systems that are built, black people are just starting to gain a means of finding balance. We are allowed now a lot of things that our ancestors and people before us were denied. So as there are a lot of people that are healing and doing their generational work and figuring out those triggers, there are some people who are still bound to their triggers. They submit to their triggers. And these traditions, that is actually generational trauma, passed down as normalcy. If you know anything about the Jim Crow etiquette, and even when it comes to integration and assimilation, we were to blend in, to not really make noise, to not upset anybody or make them uncomfortable, with the threat of our lives possibly being taken. And in that, and all the things we do, because of that, it gets passed down.
So one reason I bring up the system, the reason why I played this video is because when we talk about interracial dating and stuff, one of the things is understanding that unfortunately black people all over the world, without knowing it, by osmosis, are taught self-hatred. They're also taught to self-sabotage and to destroy progress in the black community, and to always look for other community groups to incorporate into our own for low self-esteem reasons. And this is something that just happens by osmosis. It's hard to be going through the challenges that black people have gone through the world for thousands of years and not internalize these stuff. So when it comes to picking someone, it's hard for us to determine whether you're picking someone because you truly love them or because of self-hate issues. Now, this causes anxiety, but it's something that we have to really unpack. And that's why we have to have a rule set. And that's why the rule set is constructed black man and constructed black woman makes a constructed black family. You see, that way you kind of eliminate all the other stuff. That's something to think about. Now, Abolish Interracial marriage, we discussed it. So we're joined here by Brother Kel, a very important contributor to Black Betterment Broadcast, very important. And so before we jump onto the next topic, we'll be jumping back and forth with topics and having others, but we'll just go through the notion. Is there anything you would like to go over, either Brother Umar's statement about reversing interracial marriage or anything in general, Brother Kel?
Yeah, man, like it definitely needs to be put in, because I mean there was an act, was it the sorry, was it the 60s? Loving versus Virginia, was it?
Yes,
like the
yes,
60s,
you're right.
or yeah, where they made it legal, in it. So, you know, as what under Black Betterment, you know, racial blackening is a very good strategy, then this is definitely the way forward. I mean, he's going to get backlash. However, he's thinking about the survival of our race, man. You know, we're not listening, are we? And it's nothing to do with the biracial Africans. They're still our family, you know what I mean? They're genetically dominant. It's just that, as you know very well, Garvey made it perfectly clear that when it comes to picking a side, it's very problematic, and it always makes us be, you know, on the losing team and worse off. So I support his, I support this campaign, man. You know what I mean? Definitely, I support that, man.
Well done. Yeah, we're going to be covering that as it goes by. If you guys got anything you want to jump in and talk about that, the concept of abolishing interracial marriages, we discuss if interracial marriage should be abolished. Big up Empress Kushti who brought the topic to us. Now this is we're gonna jump back to it, but it segues very nicely into who gets there we go, who gets reparations. Oh, Stanley, welcome, Black Betterment brother Stanley. I suspect you have an opinion.
How you doing?
Very good.
Yeah, well, you pretty much know it, but
right. Well, so I guess do you see? I guess do you see a value in Black people trying to
absolutely
motivate Black men to marry Black women and be constructive? Do you reckon that's like a good strategy to have within the community?
I don't think it's a bad strategy. If Black men prefer Black women, fine with me. However, Black men should choose whom they get along with.
So so have you ever asked, whenever you've seen these Black men with non-Black women, but will be particularly European women, white women, has the Black man ever asked the question, what's their views on reparations? Have you ever heard that before when they're courting or they're
oddly enough, when I was married, now my wife died back in 2013, and to be honest, I was too busy, raising a family to pay much attention to the news. So reparations never came up. Right. So I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer. I've never had a Black person question my marriage. So people tend to, kind of mind their own business.
Sorry, brother. You've never had a Black person question what? Sorry, I didn't hear that last one.
My marriage.
Oh, right, got you. Yeah, so we're sorry for your loss, family, but I don't think it's necessarily questioning. I think it's more so what behaviors can Black people collectively engage in that pushes us forward, and like the sister says,
forward towards what goal?
Well, to improve Black economics, Black health, and Black families. You see, like what could we do? This is the.
I think, and it's going to sound cliche, but raising excellent children, being good parents, and holding your kids to a high standard is the best thing that we can do for the Black community.
Do you think it's possible for a person who's chosen to not marry a Black woman to still marry a non-Black woman, but promote the importance of marrying Black women? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yes.
Is that something you would do, brother Stanley?
It's something I've done.
Excellent. So you would say that as long as when you come with this kind of platform, your primal instinct is to promote Black man with Black woman. Would you say?
Let me put it to you this way. I just had a conversation with my son. I guess it was last week, and I pretty much told him that in America, you had a white mother, but there's a one-drop rule. You are a Black man, and you need to always keep that in mind. And I've literally told them, your friends may do this, that, or whatever, but you aren't white.
How would you feel?
I'm very blunt about that.
You let them know that how they'll be perceived. So, what about in marriage choices? Do you emphasize the importance of Black love and Black economics to your children? Or it's not really
I think love is important. I'm not going to dictate. The only thing I would dictate to my son is, marry someone who is worth marrying.
Right.
And right. I'm me. I'm not. I was dating a Black woman when I met my wife.
Okay.
So I am not one of these people who's like, I only date white women. I didn't plan.
Well,
I wasn't looking for my wife.
Is it right saying that you were with a Black woman and then you met a non-Black woman?
I've dated plenty of Black women.
Right, but okay, so this is a pattern we see as well, that many black men, they're with black women in a poor time or in a social like area time, but when it comes to
I've
actually giving
never.
half, well, hold on, when it comes to actually giving half their wealth or a lifetime commitment, they're probably more likely to pick a non-black woman, and that might be
See,
problematic if that happens quite
I,
consistently. Do you think?
you know what? I'm not looking at the stats that you're looking
Mm,
at.
yeah, of course,
I tend to now. I tend to do what I want to do,
of course.
and I don't really care what other people think.
Would
I
that say?
think that
Would you say that you're more of a soloist and not like a team player when it comes to like black issues? Would you say?
no,
Okay,
I have no team.
that's good.
However, I am black, and I
Mm.
am Black American,
So you
and
know when you talked about,
I have no shame,
of
no
course,
doubt. I am
yeah.
proud of being a black person.
So
I'm
let me say this.
proud of my African heritage,
I
but I
understand that.
also
I agree. I
I'm
agree.
sorry.
But let me just say this: if your children were to then marry a European and then their grandchildren, and you were old enough to see them grow, would you
I
be
only have
happy?
one.
Okay, would you be happy for your great children to be Europeans, as in to be aesthetically European and thinking European and perceived as European and
But
working and marrying European? Would that be white people? I should say in America. Sorry. Would that be
I
something that
would
you'd be?
be I would be disappointed if my son married a black woman and they thought like black people. You think like yourself. Okay,
Right.
you just made the comment that I'm not a
Mm,
team player. I
mm.
don't see the necessity to think like everybody else. You may
I
agree,
see that. Yeah.
but it is very important to form your own opinions.
I hear that's what I'm saying. Do you think that Europeans or white people think the same way as you? Do you feel that that's
Yeah,
how they?
well, no,
Okay.
now don't get me going on
Mm.
white people are the biggest problem in America.
Right.
You
Okay.
know,
But do you think they think it's a team though? You think they think it's a
we
team?
need better white people. Don't get
Mm.
me wrong.
Well, here's what it is. Because obviously, most black men. So I'll show you a video. You might have seen it. When black men are approached by European women. So we start by seeing a video of this lady here. I think she's on the screen. Let me see if I can. Oh, what number 2? This is very important. We go through this file. Wait. This one. This one. So this is just 4 seconds. So this lady, sister, trying to explain.
Racism, black people are taught self-hate. They are taught to fight against themselves and to fight against people who look like them.
Okay.
In this system, these many systems that are built, black people are just starting to gain a means of finding balance.
Right.
We are allowed now a lot of things that our ancestors and people before us were denied. So as there are a lot of people that are healing and doing their generational work and figuring out those triggers, there are some people who are still bound to their triggers. They submit to their triggers. And these traditions, that is actually generational trauma passed down as normalcy. If you know anything about the Jim Crow etiquette, and even when it comes to integration and assimilation, we were to blend in, to not really make noise, to not upset anybody or make them uncomfortable with the threat of our lives possibly being taken. And in that and all the things we do because of that, it gets passed down.
All right. So just keep that in mind while I find this. So if you look at how this gentleman is reacting now, Nigerian American,
Yours.
he's best pleased. The making of the faces best pleased.
Okay, wait. So I'm assuming dark skins?
Yes.
Okay. What do you like about us melanin men?
Respectful, know what you're doing,
Yeah,
easy to look at, culture, the vibes, all of it.
all of it. Okay. Wait, have you ever been with a Nigerian?
I am not.
Yeah. Happy New Year, motherfucker.
Right. So what we're saying is, if you live in trauma, and you're taught to hate. You'll have no idea whether there's some kind of unconscious bias going in your mind when it comes to picking a person, and how one person's words might really heavily influence you over another person's, i.e., Europeans over an African. So because of that, you can speak. I'm just going to finish this part. So this is one of the challenges we face, because it's hard to really track it, isn't it? And when it comes to being a team player, that means black women are going to be more left out, isn't it? Because of this kind of psychosis that we're going through. Do you disagree, brother?
Well, my first advice to this young man is don't meet drunk white women. Talk to them when they're sober.
Right. Well, how about talking to sober black women? Would that not be better?
Absolutely. I tell you what, the same rules apply. You know, making like, you know, I understand, you know, the idea of that video, you know, young people having fun, but you make life decisions like who you marry, not when you're drunk.
What about what this gentleman said?
These type of relationships have been intentionally used to siphon power out of our community. Virginia was passed, a lot of our highest earners and most educated black people started to marry outside the community.
That the plan is statistically wrong.
The goal was to tell black.
So you don't reckon that when it comes to like economics and
I
success,
think most successful black people are married to black spouses.
Well, maybe a way to look at it is to look at ratio-wise. So white men who are successful versus say black men or Asian men, there's a high ratio of black men marrying out of the community when they become successful and rich versus Asians or versus European or white people. So that will show that maybe when the sister talks about this,
people are taught racism. Black people are taught self-hate.
That could there be a connection there without knowing?
Wait, racism. Can you repeat what you said? Racism. Black people are taught.
Let's go back and hear it.
Just like white people are taught racism, black people are taught self-hate. They are taught to.
I don't disagree with that.
Right, there you go. There you go. So this is the thing. It's Sister Betty. Is that Sister Betty? No, Sister Betty. We did speak a few months about that. You probably wouldn't. You're probably not best suited for the show, but it has been many long time. But I don't know if you accidentally clicked on this, but this is a very high anxiety topic, so just be wary.
But you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me make one more comment.
Go ahead.
In my experience, and it's anecdotal, just my experience, black people will teach black people self-hatred. And you could make the argument, you know, if I straighten my hair or I get surgery on my nose, black people a lot of times perpetuate it.
Yeah, but that is that part of the process of being self-hating, right?
My only thing is that it's not just white people that are propagating, you know, the self-hatred message.
Right. So what you're saying is black people who are taught self-hate then teach it themselves, right?
If they are weak-minded, yeah.
So what the sister's saying, you agree with? So we're saying it's hard to.
I actually do agree with them.
It's hard to make an informed decision when you have these kind of wiring in your mind that could actually, you know, make you make decisions that's not in your collective best interest. So you look at yourself as less and look at others as more. So when you're moving through the world and you're progressing, you're probably more likely to want to be with someone in a community that has more dominance or more beauty standards as a market than someone in the
I might be the wrong person to ask because I tend to think for myself, I really don't care what the majority, if I agree with the way to move, fine. Well, but I'm not afraid to go against the grain.
We're going to move on. We're joined by Betty for the first time in a long time. Hopefully, you know, we have a new format, so we can stick to it. But right now, we're going to be. Is there anything you'd like to say, Sister Betty, as you jump in, or you just?
I wanted to say, well, you know, there's been a few changes in Betty's life, you know, and obviously, since I took my DNA test, so obviously I thought I was just an African and only descend from African. So unfortunately, you know, my DNA test says that 21% of my ancestors were African American. I'm from the Caribbean, so yeah, Betty's mixed too. Betty's not like African as we thought.
Right.
So you're American.
So, yeah, well, Yeah. My ancestors in the 1800s. Don't laugh, Stanley.
No,
My
you know what? I
let me
chuckle. Oh,
what it is like. In the 1800s, there was a thing called Return to Africa. When slavery ended, they didn't want to pay them reparations, so
yes.
15,000 slaves returned to Africa. And
Yep.
my mum and my dad descend from those people. So
Nice.
21%
So
of
you're
my
from where? Sierra Leone or Liberia?
no, what it is my African American ancestors are from North Carolina and from
Cool.
Texas,
Hmm.
California, stuff like that. And they went to Sierra Leone and then they moved to Nigeria. And so, but also my mum and dad are both descend from. My mum descends from Dominican slaves and Barbadian slaves, and my dad descends from Bayesian slaves.
You
Okay.
should be proud of yourself, your ancestors. Excellent.
It was a bit of a shock. When I told my auntie, my
Why?
dad said, "Oh," because there's no one has any recollection of any returnee slaves. Like I don't know if you heard in Nigeria, they're called Brazilian Yoruba people. They're really proud and they know that their ancestors were enslaved. But
Hmm.
in like Bibio, because we don't know nothing about no returnee slaves, because it's like the fourth great grandparent. So there's no
Hmm.
recollection of it. So obviously it's a true shock, isn't it? It's a true shock if you just
Thank
thought
you.
that family
There
were
you
in
go.
Africa.
Thank you, Sister Bay. That's interesting to know. What we're going to do, where last week we brought up who gets reparations. Should black people lose reparation claims based on who they marry? So we did a full exercise. And what I did is I said I'll mock up some kind of starting concept that we can go through, and people are welcome to jump on and add their 10 pence piece of what it was. There was issues last week of people who married, who were constantly marrying Europeans and non-black people, and their children inheriting something. Some people weren't best pleased, so we tried to come up with like what solution could we have to this. So to start off, we said who gets reparations. One concept I'm thinking, and let me know if this makes sense. The people in the audience, the people listening to Future Times, and also people in the panel, is what if we had like a 6-share split and a marriage inheritance. So what does that look like? So let's break that down, right? I'll show you a diagram. So here we go. On the left, well, what I've done is we're assuming that, let's say they're assuming that UK are going to pay. This is just obviously fantasy make believe. Are going to pay compensation for colonization as well as kidnapping. Let's say that's the compensation to people who descend from the Africans that European controlled, and the Caribbeans and the Americans that European controlled, right? That England controlled. And let's say it could be England, it could be European as a collective putting things together. Once again, it's fantasy football kind of stuff. It's not happening. But we're just thinking of if scenario, how would we go by it? So I was thinking, what if, in order to get over the anxiety that we were talking about, what if you had 6 shares, meaning that your parents and your parents' parents, each of them was a contributor of 150,000. Once again, that number can change to a trillion or to 5 pence, whatever. It's just a concept of division, how you divide something, right? So if each of your parents and grandparents gave you 150 shares, so by you getting reparations of this kind, this is the self-given reparations, not the institution reparations. That'd be something different. But the individual receiving some kind of compensation, we're saying that as you're a black person, your parents, which is 2, and your grandparents, which is 4, you can, if they are of the African descent or enslaved descent or colonized descent, then you would receive 150 per head, and then yourself, you would receive that money maybe, and this is something to discuss. And then when you marry a black woman, within a certain amount of years, maybe 5, 10, who knows, you then inherit the last 150,000. So this gentleman down here, who's labeled Black British because he's based in England and was born here, so they call him Black British. He is married a black sister. All his parents are from the Caribbean or Africa, so he inherits 1,050,000, right? If you add it all up, right? But with the gentleman towards the right-hand side now, let's just say that there is a black family, African and Nigeria come together, they have a child, and then that child decides to marry a person of European descent, and they have a child. This was the anxiety, not the anxiety, but the dilemma. People were saying like, oh, the amount of Europeans that you're introducing, Is it correct that they inherit the same, and would not the money then bounce back to European hands, which I'm sure it will at some point? So the question is, if you did it the same model, then you realize that they cannot receive 150 from the European side, so that's already 3 shares they've lost, but they gain 2 because obviously their parents are there. And the gentleman who's decided not to marry a sister then will not inherit the additional 1,500 marriage inheritance tax or share, I should say, not tax, share, right? So then he's left with a sum of 450,000 versus the brother who has 1,050,000, right? So this is one concept I was thinking of how to maybe get around that item. Once again, it's just a thought process. It's just a concept to start a conversation. There are many. We are still in fantasy mode because no one is really talking about reparations, really.
To be honest, brother Raven, the cities in the UK, Birmingham, London, they are tough. So you are on the right track.
No, not
yeah,
that.
you're on the right track.
You're right. You're right. No, sorry. Let me be clear because I don't want to undermine that. I'm talking about from a European standpoint, as in European.
Okay, right.
Black people. I mean, Pan African. We've been talking about for 29 years. I mean, for hundreds of years. Sorry, but I'm saying that you're not going to really get too many shows on TV pro reparations, and that's why we were saying as we were collating it with the banning of interracial marriage, is saying could that in when you're courting your European woman or a non-black woman, could you ask them what are your views on reparations to be part of the courting process? You see, because like Brother Stanley said and the other gentleman on the TV, none of them actually mentioned that, and that will actually give paint a better picture of who you're marrying. But Brother Kel was going to say something. So jumping, Brother Kel, finish, but you're correct what you're saying, definitely.
No, I was going to say that we the cities in the UK, especially what I'm a part of, and obviously our family in London, etc., are in the process with Pan-Africanist laws to do this. But that model, what you come up with now, Brother Raven, that's fantastic. That is, man. Definitely, that's proper, man. But the conversation we had last week with Sister Kushi was about how do we give it to the biracials. You remember that discussion? Yes. And how you've clarified this today and that now is very structured, man. So I'm on board with this, man. Defo.
It's good. Because what we're trying to do, we're trying to make things systematic and also explanatory, but also let people know that the choices they make will impact what they receive. So normally, rather than giving everyone one lump sum, if such thing was to exist, you say by who your ancestors directly are, the choices your parents made, as well as the choices you make, will determine the amount you're given. So we understand that you are of African descent, and we understand that regardless of who you choose, there is trauma, there is a pain that has to be compensated on something. But the more you introduce non-sufferers from that claim, the less you get, because the way we're doing the claim is an amalgamation of family. And if you are not choosing to be with a certain family, you cannot get the full family share. And obviously, we're putting high emphasis on marrying a black woman or a black man. So if you choose to marry outside the community, then you won't get your final inheritance. So your share, although it will be very high, well, not really. Well, it depends on how much is given, of course, whatever. But compared to a brother or a sister who decides to marry within the collective, and being very open that we're trying to start generational wealth and inheritance and create a process where we have circular wealth and we build infrastructure and things that are beneficial to black people, so we can no longer have to be subservient and asking others for a hand or just looking to sabotage our own progress. This is one model family. Feel free, guys, to jump in to say what you feel, or if you've got any other concepts or ideas. Like Brother Cal said, there's, I think it's Sister Space, the sisters who run Sister Space. That I know one of the sisters, I think I want to say is a sister in Sister Space that is very consistently on reparations. I've seen her on TV a few times. Very strong. Naturally, when she goes on TV, many non-black people try to shoot her down, and we definitely want to get her back. But that is a very, very important question to ask your potential non-black wife or non-black husband, but more so men to women, and that is, what is your views on reparations? Because I will ask you, if their views are no, then maybe you should marry a black woman. But then that's just me just being very venturous. I just think that these questions are not what we're asking. We're more bamboozled by being chosen. And once again, this is the same with self-hate being a culturalized concept and just embedded in the fabric of humanity. You might not know that you're making a decision that isn't in your best interest, or you're being heavily propagandized to think that, when really the best option for you is a black woman. I know some black men disagree, but let's have that conversation.
I definitely believe that we have to give each other a reparation in regards to psychological helping each other to prepare for what is owed to us. Because if we don't psychologically sort our mind out, the land, wealth, inventions, etc., which we're requesting back, is going to go back to the non-African. So reparation for us is key for us first, and then the non-Africans.
I've got a question about
Go
this. There's not enough black men to go around in the UK, because a lot of them are either in the prison industrial complex, or they're with Becky with the good hair. So the only other option is, if a black woman wants a black man, you're going to have to go and share a black man, which a lot of black women are not going to take. So I just think it's a bit unfair.
You come to America, there'll be plenty of black men.
No, Stanley, does not in the UK. I don't know about the US, but I know in the UK, most of them, a lot of them are locked up.
Well, we hear
that. Disproportionately locked up. A lot of them are white women.
Yeah. What you said is a concern for many black women in the diaspora generally, as in running out of good men.
No.
Well, I've seen it quite consistently, Brother Stanley. But yeah, and this is what the thing. One of our goals is to try to maximize the amount of black potential. So that's with education, with not going to prison, with not dying, with hopefully living a lifestyle that doesn't make them not like women. But also, but at some point, while we're making this make sense, polygyny might be an option. I mean, the thing is, what I find with polygyny is, when it comes to rich men, women are probably more likely to say, rich famous men, they're probably more likely to live some kind of polygamous lifestyle. And I'm saying that you could probably make things more official and officially get some kind of like compensation or living security but this is, once again, if we were going to talk about polygyny, just like we're trying to unpack reparations, we have to have a standard way of doing something and talking. I know there's many cultures that do it, but it won't be something we can shout out, because it's without doing it properly, it becomes high anxiety topic. One of the things I was saying to women and men is, me personally, just to minimize anxiety, in order for polygyny to be practiced, everyone has to be on board. The reason I say that is because it causes conflict if not. Go ahead.
Well, I haven't spoken in a while. I was going to ask you about polygamy. Is that the solution to the shortage of black men? And apparently you think so.
Well, it's multifaceted. So one is we create campaigns where we heighten the chances of black men wanting to marry black women. So let's just pretend we have a magical genie, right, or something that is less magical.
Well, let me ask you a question.
This correlates what you're saying. For example, I'll give you one quick example. I would go to Speaker's Corner and I would tell black men, when we're on camera, it's probably best we don't swear, because children are watching us, and we might lose certain kind of ratings, or it might be problematic if we just become very gun ho with our language. And when I said this to many of the brothers there, and bless them, they weren't best pleased. They were like, no, this is my freedom, or people, so much is going on in the world, and they went crazy. And I said, okay, I understand that. Now, the Anglo algorithm tells them. Let me finish, brother. This is very important. The Anglo algorithm tells them, you know what? Do not swear, or we're gonna not pay you on YouTube. And all of a sudden, overnight, all these same black people don't swear on YouTube. And so, what I'm realizing is, they're having incentives can make black men do many things, right? So, when we look at the board here, before we jump in, brother Stanley, is we realize that there's an incentive now to actually marry a black woman, because you get more inheritance or more compensation. By having many of these concepts of making it pleasurable, gainful, showing the benefits, people come together to celebrate these concepts, right? that way you're going to heighten the chance. But that can also go in tandem with having structured polygyny, and then a better black man and more educated black men, and black men who when they become richer want to have a black woman because it's based upon their culture and pride. By having these things happen in tandem, then you get progression. But before you say anything, we just welcome Empress Kush. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna to say that as well. Yeah, gonna say yeah.
But let me respond if I may.
Family.
Hey,
Black Betterment sister.
may I respond?
You go ahead, Brother Stanley.
I'm going to give you a compliment. That watch your language stuff. I respect that. There might be kids watching, and you want kids to hear what you say. You know, make it family friendly. I don't disagree with that. I respect you for that.
Yeah, big up.
I was good.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a long speech. I simply don't. Well, my question: did you talk to IC3 about your reparations plan? Because that's my first question, and then my statement is: I don't think, and you're gonna hate me for saying this, but I don't think I think your plan is essentially racist, and I'm not. Um, I'm not a Kendi fan that the only way to fix racism is anti-racism. Basically, it's fighting fire with fire. I don't think being racist is the solution to a racist country.
No, we're being
So
nationalists.
that,
You
well,
know,
hold on,
nationalism.
hold on.
Nationalism is what all races practice. I just want to quickly. I want to quickly say something. I just want to quickly say something
I'm
before you
not a
finish, man.
Pan-Africanist.
Okay, but nationalism don't necessarily mean Pan-African. What I'm saying is, to be fair with you, Brother Raven, a lot of the sisters, right, are doing the passport Africanizing by marrying our brothers on the continent. You know, they're doing very well. There's actually a movement. So if there is a shortage of black men in the diaspora, they have the option polygyny or go to the continent, because you know there's loads of brothers in the continent. There's more black people on the planet anyway, so they do definitely have options, man. So big up to the Sun sisters that are doing that movement.
We agree. We would agree with that, definitely. But Brother Stanley is saying that I guess we could unpack. When you say that you're observing racism in our practices, what is that again? How does that manifest?
Well, I think, basing kids don't choose their parents. And I think that's essentially your plan is saying, if you choose to marry who you love, there's going to be a penalty.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is it's kind of like the white concept of, hey, let's encourage marriage. We'll give you a tax break. It reeks of that. And if you are essentially intentionally or unintentionally imitating white racism, then don't. It's not the solution.
I didn't see the correlation there. What we're saying is,
well, I'm sure you don't see the correlation, but there is.
Yeah, I'm sure. But let me break down. You can break in. We're saying that we're having a shares where each person is a 6-person share, and 6th person is your parents and grandparents. So naturally, if your grandparents and parents are not black, you cannot inherit the same amount of someone who has a higher share than you, because unfortunately for the Europeans, they wasn't victims of they don't descend from victims of enslaved black people, and they lived in a system where they're protected from that concept because they have the complexion for protection, you see. So I don't think there's going to be too many Europeans who are going to want reparations for something they haven't suffered, or they're not in the shell of a person who suffered it. Does that make sense?
I just simply don't agree.
Well, what you're doing is very important, Brother Stanley, because we are saying that by close proximity to Europeans via through marriage or maybe being raised, you might always be fighting for the best interests of the dominant society. And this is important because we use this as a case study, you see. But using what you're saying is how we refine our actual methods.
Have you ever read like Dumbudzo Marachera, or I think when I was in college, I think the best English writers for a time were African, and American writers have always been good. Black people understand racial dynamics better than white people. And the first thing Black people learn is basing a system for reparations on who you marry. And you know what? If you are a descendant of biracial marriage, you're penalized. Like, you're thinking of money. Like, if I marry this white girl, I'm going to lose money. That's commodification, and that is a white concept. Commodification of relationships is a white thing.
Stanley,
don't imitate white people.
What Stanley says. Sorry, Stanley, to interrupt. Look, you know, I think I don't want to say with the flaw in this plan, respectfully. Sheikh Anta Diop is one of the greatest African scholars and she contributed to Pan-Africanism. He was married to a white French woman and had mixed race children. If you go by this idea that because he married a white French woman and had mixed race children, even though he contributed to restoring what African people have done in the world, you would actually cut the children out. You get them half. They would get half because their mama is a French white woman, and this French white woman helped Sheikh Anta Diop rewrite African history from an African-centered perspective. That's the only thing I would say. I would agree with Stanley that you're gonna come into problems if you go on this route. That's all I'm saying.
I hear that, and we welcome that kind of controversy because we start with the double dilemma, and the double dilemma is that Black people are collectively inadequate, and collectively Black people have no friends. So when we speak and we talk about having inheritance from being enslaved and being colonized, if we always center Europeans who dominate us in the conversation, this demonstrates the double dilemma. So that means that even in our own mindset, we are not capable of thinking of ourselves for our own benefit. Europeans won't argue that if they are not enslaved, they shouldn't receive money for being enslaved. And if we break down things by a parent and grandparent share, that means already there's 3 characters who are not part of that claim. The money will not be given through that claim. So the person at the bottom can only get 3 shares of claim, and his potential can get 1 share if he chooses to marry a Black woman. The reason is, let me finish. You can jump in. The reason is because we're collectively inadequate, and we're in an inferior position collectively to a superior operating group. If we don't have methods of maintaining wealth, as soon as we receive money or receive assets or receive land or anything, it'll just be given away. So this is one concept of how to minimize that. But once again, mindset is important. So if you have a Pan-African mindset or a pro-Black mindset or a Black Burman mindset, in this conversation, you'll be saying, yeah, this makes sense. I understand. This is a one method of retaining wealth so we can build something else so we're never where we were again, you see? But what we're saying is it's not fair on the Europeans or the biracial children, this kind of stuff. We're once again, we're centering fringe and outside groups in a conversation that's about reparations for Black people or descendants of African slavery or colonization, right? So this is part of the I wouldn't say self-hate. Well, yeah, we could say self-hate, but more so, I think what's more potent is it demonstrates collective inadequacies of how we collectively think in everything to do with Black people or Africans. We have always centered non-Black people, and that's because they are superior at conquering than we are. So they've conquered our minds correctly, and that's why we will always push them forward. That's from my research, but I could be wrong. Go ahead.
That's why I was saying, Brother Raven, that with the hold on. One sec. That's what I was saying, Brother Raven. You know, the biracial Africans, right? Because of what has happened to us, that the reparation for them should come in the form of an institution that benefits the Black community. Do you understand? Where they still have their name on that institution, but it still has the Black community, so it doesn't go back into the non-Africans institution, because that's what's going to happen whether we like it or not. Well, Sheikh Anta Diop Therefore,
I'd like those
he's one of my top black historians. However, due to the power dynamic, and the Irish Africans are marrying more non-African women, and that's the solution, man. You know what I mean?
So we Empress Kush did start off the topic last week, so we definitely want to give her space to speak. But when you're ready, Empress, no pressure. But we'll think. So just before we jump in, we are trying to think of ways. I think making it a standard that we intend, if we inherit any kind of reparations, the goal is to keep it within the community and serve the community. So we're trying to think of strategies of doing that. So that's one of the
can I tell you how you and again, it's just my opinion. You can't fight racism with racism. And essentially what you're doing is thinking like a white man.
Right. So thinking ways to dominate.
Rules. People have to have rules. You get money if you follow rules. That's white.
Why are you saying that only white people
Highly unsynchronized.
the rules?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Costa.
I'm saying, hi, by the way, Stanley.
Hey.
I was asking, are you saying that only white people can adhere to rules?
No, I'm saying black people shouldn't.
Okay, so that's just your feelings in relation to rules.
It's my feelings. I'm not saying we should do it.
But
I don't follow white people's rules.
Okay, so let's leave the
except when they benefit.
Hold on, Stanley. Let's leave the white people aside for a second.
Well, you brought them up.
We're focusing on the reparation, like a format for reparations for our people.
Well, can I tell you my opinion of reparations? There should be no rules. Pay the shit. I don't care who you marry. If you are black, you are a descendant of slaves, you are owed reparations. Who cares who you marry? That's my opinion.
I think what happened last week is that we saw a chart, and by the set of what is classified as black, the person just didn't look like the majority of the family in the chat last week just it didn't sit well with us. That somebody on the, what was it, bro? Is it Octoroon?
Yeah, it's this section here.
So if you look at that individual there, a lot of people wouldn't feel comfortable with those people walking around with reparations.
But can I respond?
Mm-hmm.
My son is biracial. So
sorry, all I heard was my son.
How he looks, he still is half American black. So how you look, it's more a genetics argument for me. If you are a descendant of slaves, now you can do the gradation.
When does that cut off?
I'm sorry.
When does that cut off? So how far back can you say that you have a relative who's African or black? How far?
His father is black, so I know, he'll be okay.
I don't know if it's just
my
me,
side of the family is black, all black, so he'll be okay. Now I know what you're asking. I'm trying to think. Okay. I don't know. I would say if you have a descendant that you can trace back who was, now I'm speaking from an American point of view, if you can prove your ancestry back to American slavery, then you're good. Now you're asking how much money?
No.
I'll leave that to the economists. But if you can trace your heritage back, then you are eligible.
I think what Empress Kush was saying is like, is there a cutoff point where someone who's a descendant of an enslaved person doesn't? And I think
no. If you're a descendant of slaves, there is no cutoff.
Right. Now, the issue
Now,
we have.
how much you get?
Let me jump in there. Well, look. So maybe you don't understand this model. So let me break it down for the new people and for yourself.
I disapprove of the model.
Of course. Well,
I
anything that doesn't
understand
favor
it.
Europeans, I suspect you disapprove of. But let's unpack it just for the.
No,
for
that's
the
not
viewers.
true.
Oh, maybe not. Let's find out, shall we? So basically, what we're saying is each individual, their share is split into 6, potentially 7 shares. Yeah. So there's a sum, and they split. And how they split is by if one parent is black, you get 1 share. If 2 parents black, you get 2 share. And that means obviously if you have 2 black parents, then you're gonna have 4 grandparents. So that means you get the 6th share, right? Now the final share you can only get if you marry a black woman or a black man for a certain amount of years, maybe 5 years, it's to be discussed. Hold on. Right? But hold on. Rather than the reasons behind this, right, is because we are promoting methods of keeping the wealth in the black community, but also we are giving finance based upon the actual enslaved members rather than just numbers, right? So what they're saying is, if you look here, this gentleman here. He's going to be given 450,000, and that's because his father is a black
You're
man.
basing it on looks.
Hold on. Forget the looks for a minute, because these are descendants of enslaved people or colonized people.
Prove it.
Right? Forget.
There's a point to my question.
There's a point to the whole exercise, and I'm just trying to make you understand it. Right?
Let me know when I can respond.
Well, rather than just waiting for me then to speak, maybe listen and see if you can actually fathom what we're trying to do. I've
listened. It doesn't take me long to figure out your point, because you keep making it.
Well, hold on. So, Brother Stanley, let's do a full exercise now, right? Let's do a full exercise.
Let me respond, and then we can do the exercise.
Well, we haven't finished responding to your first question. I'm saying, if we came here and we said, you see this chart, it's the same. Whether you're white or black, you get the same.
It's full of faces, not data.
Okay, so So do you know what a full exercise is? Is this very new?
I know. Your full exercise is based on phenotype, and I disagree with that.
It's not based on phenotype. It's based on lineage and
I see looks. That is phenotype.
You're not giving us a chance to finish. That's why you're stuck there.
The truth
is, I'm bored.
We're just gonna give you some advice from sister.
Just like white people are taught racism, black people are taught self-hate. They are taught to fight against themselves and to fight against people who look like them.
Now, the reason
I responded to that.
Remember, we said that whenever black people find about
I agree with the system.
Racism and collective inadequacy and collectively having no friends, we go.
Then why are you showing pictures?
5 seconds. Hold on. So right now, there's denial, anger, bargaining, and depression. Which one do you think you're at when we talk about reparations? Which stage do you reckon you're at, Brother Stanley? Which one of these?
I'm at the stage that I recognize bullshit when I hear it.
Well, hold on.
Now, may I respond? May I respond? May I respond? We know I'm not. We know I'm not synchronized. May I respond to your point?
I'll just mute you for 4 seconds. Can you not use that language here? I know it's hard. Whenever we question Europeans or Arabs or whatever, you're going to be defensive. But I'm saying, is it okay we can use constructive language so we can find solutions for black people, which is what the show set up for. Now, I know it's hard. I know it's hard where we're challenging, your concept of domination. We're challenging, your concept of who should receive what. But let's try to be constructive and let's try to find solutions for black people. Can we get that, Brother Stanley? Excellent. There you go.
I think that your argument would be better taken if it were based on data, maybe like genetics versus phenotype.
It's not phenotype.
Okay,
Brother Raven, this is definitely a denial, This is stage 1 of denial, Brother Raven. Stage 1 of denial.
Possibly a bit of depression in there as well, bro.
I'm not even depressed. I'm saying if it's not based on data, if you're showing pictures like someone, that's like black people. It's colorism. It's colorism. It is colorism.
This might be actually Brother Stanley. You might be.
My skin is whiter than yours. I get more bucks.
It doesn't work that
I
way.
can see why Dr. Umar Johnson's campaigning for the tearing down the interracial
And you know
relationship.
what? I
This
can
is a big
tell.
problem, you know what I mean, and that.
I
So
can
I support
tell.
Dr. Umar Johnson with his campaigning, man.
You
Very
know what?
important.
You would support Umar. You are an Umarian. He's
Is there any chance I
synchronized.
can make a comment, please? Thank you. There's another issue that I see with this concept. I do think that reparations, especially in an African tradition, it's also done on merit. It's not just to do with your genetics. So if somebody like Shaitan Diop, and look at the new coup leader of Guinea, he's married to a French white woman with children, but he's overthrown the French colonial power and dashed France out, and has made a pact with Mali and Niger that if the French come in, any foreign forces come in, touch one, touch all. Yeah. So I think someone like that, like Shaitan Diop, these children, regardless of whether their mum is French, they must be reparations also based on contribution and contributing to the upliftment
Okay. Well,
of black people.
smart black people get more money.
Stanley, you can't just do it on the genetics, because say Stanley does
Okay,
something to
based
uplift
on
black people,
brilliance.
you can't just I don't think it's fair that you don't want to give Stanley's children money based on Stanley's contribution of uplifting black people, regardless of whether he procreated with a white woman. It's got to be based on merit.
I'd like to respond.
Let me jump in.
I
then
don't
can
think
jump
you
up.
can do it that way. Based on
Brother
merit,
Stanley,
you already have a job.
Hold on, I'm just going to speak. So, so it's good. It's working. It's starting a conversation. I disagree with everything said. I think if you are a descendant of enslaved, you will get by this diagram. You will get something. You will just get less by the choices you make and the choice that are made before you. So, if you have, hold on, what we're saying is you are getting shares based upon your actual father and grandparents and grandparents. So if your
And
grandparents,
do kids get to choose those fathers, mothers, and grandparents?
hold on. So what they're saying is the brother to the right, let's call him Benjamin or something, here, this brother here, he will be getting 450,000. Now he could get I think 600,000, I guess, if he was to marry a black sister and wait 10 years. But he's chosen not to. Now I suspect, could be wrong, Brother Stanley, that if we told black people, hold on, let me just jump in. If we told black men, do you know that if you married a black woman, after 5 years or 10 years, you inherit 150,000? I suspect there'll be much more black marriages. Would you reckon that would be true, Brother Stanley?
I think marrying a woman for money is just the wrong direction for black people.
Well, here's what it is, brother. It's like when it comes to black men, I'm in record telling black men maybe we should be constructive in the park and being laughed at, saying this is not how we are. We want freedom.
I don't live in your park.
Let me finish to jump in. But yet, when the Anglo algorithm said don't swear, you don't get paid, the black man wasn't swearing. So what I'm saying is we understand that you can actually control outcomes with finance. And if we're saying that, okay, because of a fear of giving back what we just took 800 years to get, or 400 years, depending on when you want to start, then we have a method to minimize that damage by having protocol and codes and templates.
My response is being black for money is bullshit. Be black. You don't have to be paid for it.
Language. I know it's challenging because we're
I'm sorry. I'm challenging you.
Let me
Don't be black for money.
Right. Go ahead, Empress.
Let me ask you a question, Brother Raven. So, on this chart, is it down to the marriage, or is it just down to inheritance? Because I don't.
Let me break it down. Yeah. So how I remember this is just a starting exercise. Things can be
because I know what my one was. I know what my position was. Yes. Last week when we was talking about it, and it just stemmed quite easily that if you had two black parents, then you got reparations.
Yeah, so this makes it much. So this does what you're doing, but it does what you're doing, but it does it in a way where it will minimize any kind of conflict based upon this concept here, right? You as an individual, so this gentleman here, this brother here, every person gets a 6-share inheritance, meaning every parent and grandparent you have that is of a descendant of enslaved or kidnapped people from the England empire, whatever it is, receives 150,000 for that. So that grandson comes up, and then you receive it, and then the final share you get, if that's your final share, you get if you marry a black woman for more than 5 years or something like this, right? Then you receive it. So we're saying that this brother, by having black parents and by marrying a black woman, is receiving over £1 million. Yeah. Now it could be more, could be less, depending on how much is divided amongst black people, right? But we're saying now, if someone here, because you're talking about when do we cut things off, if you do it this way, by the time it gets to the person, they'll be cut off already. Yeah. Or they will not be receiving as much as someone who comes from a complete enslaved family, because they're not from a complete enslaved family. So it's done by shares of your members rather than, any of everyone who had a great granddad. Because once again, our fear is we know that Europeans have used racial whitening as a weapon to destroy black people and to take assets. And if people don't, just for the new people, we can break that down. Just let me give us some time to scale across the many pages. There we go. So as you know, right now, a film is in the cinema as we speak called The Three Musketeers, and the copyright is owned by this family. This is the mother. This is the general's son. This is the author. This brother. This is his son, his daughter, and her son, and then so forth today. So that all the money generated from that particular asset goes into the European family. The same thing is happening now to Bruce Lee, the father of film martial arts. He obviously married a European woman, and his European woman married a European, and then so forth. So now this is what happens when you inherit stuff. It might be happening to Bob Marley as well. I know one of his sons who owns the estate is married to a Jewish woman, and he's fighting to make sure that we fight for the Jewish freedom in Israel. That's his agenda at the moment. So what it is we see that black people are collectively inadequate, and there needs to be principles in place that assures that black people retain the things that we have been fighting and dying for many years. This is one suggestion, but there might be others. But it's good, because if it's triggering people by saying by having Europeans in the mix you get less, this is devastating, then we know that it's working, because obviously once again people put Europeans first. And
can I ask a question? Can I just mention, that chart that you had before,
yes.
And with Alex, is it Dumas? Dumas? Yeah. Can I just point out that one of the reasons why his descendants are white is because it's in a white majority country, but the people. Can I point out somebody like Robert Campbell? Robert Campbell is a Jamaican person. In 1863, his dad was a white Scottish man. The mother was mixed race, so he's only like 25% African. This guy moved to America. He didn't like it there because there was a lot of racism. Then he moved his whole family to Lagos, Nigeria, set up the Anglo-African, and he brought his wife and his children, and they stayed there because even he was actually what we would call white. Just because 25% African is not enough to be considered black. But he still felt more comfortable in Lagos, Nigeria in the 1800s and set up an Anglo-African newspaper that got attacked by the British administration for being too Pan-African. So what I'm saying is that his descendants they go on to marry Africans. And in South Africa, if they're in a mixed race people are in an African country like South Africa, those children go on to be black again. And I know that because one of my great grandparents is a mixed race person from South Africa, and they went on to marry Africans and went up to Nigeria. So that's because it's a majority black country. Mixed race people will marry white people because they're in a white country. But the minute you put them in a black country, those white people are not available to marry. They've got to marry black people. So I think you should point that out, Raven, because you're trying to make out like all mixed race people, they're all going to be marrying white. But that's not true if it's in a black country. Not enough white people to marry.
Well, let me jump in and you can jump out. Hold on. So no, that's what we're saying. We're saying there's a rule set. And the rule set is this. And you're right. We said last week, if in a majority black country, you're more likely to marry black. So the first Afro descendant of Liberia was what they call a octoroon or quadroon, I believe. The first African descended, and his family today are very, very dark skinned because they married Liberians, right? But we know that. But we are talking primarily about being based in non-black countries and observing how other cultures maintain their wealth and maintain their culture. And because we're conquered people, and even today in this conversation demonstrates that we're constantly thinking about the othering. But I'm saying we have to put black people as the focus, or at least the descendants of enslaved people. Now, that gentleman you mentioned who went to Nigeria, did he go there at a time?
Robert Campbell.
Robert Campbell. What year was that? Was that in the time of enslavement?
Robert Campbell, it says he established a newspaper in 1863 in the colony of Lagos, Nigeria, but he first went to America as an apprentice, but he experienced a lot of racism in America. That is why he moved to Lagos with his family.
This is a black man, bro. He's a black man.
No, he's not black. He's 75% white.
On his chart, on your chart,
African.
he wouldn't get nothing.
One moment, Stanley. The mother is mixed race, like Bob Marley, but the father is a white Scottish man.
Yeah.
So he's more white.
So historically, they would call that in history a quadroon. I think they call that, right?
Yeah.
Or octoroons. There are several runes.
I think so. If you really want to, let's break that down. If we want to educate of how history people were defined, let's find. Here we go. So there was the Negro, the mulatto, the quadroon, the octoroon, and the white. That's how it works there. You see, that's it.
Yeah. So he's a
So
quadroon.
you're saying he was this one? You're saying he was?
Yeah, he was. He was a quadroon.
Well, the thing is, there's quadroons who fought in the Haitian army for Haiti, right? And once again,
that's right.
If in Brazil, the Pardos will be in between.
Were there quadroons who fought on the French side?
We're talking about Haiti at this point. We're talking about Haiti at this point.
Yes, there were.
Yeah, of course. There was mulattoes.
Okay, history has two sides, and
right. Everything they say, there's always a reason for black people not to do constructive things. I get it, but here's what it is, right?
I don't think you're black with this project.
Of course. Here's what it is. If that brother was an octoroon, as they're using it, and he married someone who's within the Negro mother octoroon African ancestry kind of enslavement, right? I suspect he also was enslaved himself and got freedom, or his father was enslaved.
It doesn't say. Let me just click on the Wikipedia page. It says he was born in Kingston, 1829, in Kingston, Jamaica. Described as a mulatto because he was the son of a white Scottish man and a mixed race mother. Years after his turbulent birth, he was in Jamaica, and the economic impact of the abolishment of slavery in 1833 and the cholera epidemic. He had a position as an apprentice in this shop, and then he went to America. He took his family to Central.
Just jump in. No, thanks for the info. So yeah, once again, that is a person who was enslaved, who was of African ancestry, and their claim would be intact because they're actually enslaved, right? Or they actually descend from.
Not according to your picture.
Oh no, they will definitely receive. That's a different. So one thing we were talking about last week.
He looks white.
Well, hold on. Listen, I'm going to tell you what we say.
Last week, though, like we're not talking about times of slavery because it would be a whole different ball game. We're talking about.
Yeah. It's very important to understand that.
Reparations are based on slavery ancestry.
I get that.
You can't.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's a slavery argument.
Right. So what we're saying is the enslaved.
Yeah, Jim Crow too.
Let me finish and you can jump in. Enslaved mulattoes, quadroons, Negroes of African descent, all those are one claim, meaning that being enslaved at that time, they're all enslaved people, right? But today, it's a different thing.
Oh, God.
Today, are you listening? Today, well, even
Raven, you're showing pictures, not data.
What data do you want to see, brother? What data do you want to see for a thought exercise? What
genetics, not skin tone, not who's brighter or lighter or whatever.
That's what he's trying to show
It
you.
is literally racist.
But that is data, though, brother Stanley. That's data. What he's showing.
No, looking at people and
But
their
if you
skin
understand
tone is not data,
but if
Ken.
you understand,
You
if you
know
understand the
this.
term data,
No,
that is what he's
I
showing.
understand the
Well,
argument,
guys,
and I'm giving it a hard ass critique. I don't see data. I see skin tone.
Bro, I'm just gonna mute you for
But
4
that
seconds.
is data, though.
Hold on.
Could
Now, bro, the
possibly
reason
be
why this
the
is important,
anxiety of knowing that
yeah,
obviously
It's
yeah.
data to
I'm gonna mute
you.
you for 4
he's
seconds, brother
bringing it
Stanley.
back to what his son would get. I
Yeah,
think.
it's
Right.
racism.
So
Your
okay,
project
there we
is
have
as
it.
racist as the white people.
Excellent. That's good news. So here's what it is, right? So your anxiety is triggered by you feel that because you have married a European, the 7 shares.
No, I'm not.
I'm just gonna jump in, then you can jump out. Because you haven't married a black woman.
I'm not.
I know you want to speak because anxiety, when we talk about Europeans, it triggers men who don't marry black women. So shall I put you in? Shall I put you down in the forum so we can jump and bring you back? Would you like that? We can do that. I'll just put you back in the forum and then you can jump in afterwards.
Can I respond?
I'm just going to move for 4 seconds.
Can I respond?
Okay,
He
so let's
needs
move
to
for 4
finish the
seconds.
sentence for you to respond to, Stanley.
Here's what it is, Brother Stanley. Listen, and we have to forgive Brother Stanley. You got to understand that with many black men who choose not to be black women, it can cause a lot of anxiety, especially when you talk about not including Europeans in any kind of like reparation scheme. Because once again, Europeans are on the mind of people. Remember, think of people who marry non-black women as they're marrying the daughters of white men, and that means a lot. So right now, what we're doing, we're trying to deprive those white men of reparations, and this is going to trigger many black men who are unsynchronized. But we have to be merciful. And what you realize is, Brother Stanley is very calm and composed beforehand, but after realizing a thought exercise, he's now triggered. And this is what many black men will do, and we have to help them, but we have to be merciful. So, Brother Stanley, I'm going to bring you back. I know it's going to be hard, but if you want, we can say nice things about Europeans. But I'm just saying that try to be show some kind of decorum and some kind of consistency if possible. But if the concept of black people receiving reparations upsets you, then we might have to put you back into the rest corner. If that makes sense. There you go. Still talk to yourself. Go ahead. So there you go, Brother Stanley. So this is what we propose. Once again, thought exercise. You could come with a model where you say, you know what? White people get all the money, and if that's what you want, you should put that forward, and we'll see if people vote on that concept of just giving black, because they've got it ready, to be honest, right? But right, this is one method, and what we're trying to do is motivate black people, especially in the diaspora, to look to be with black people, to build and sustain institutions that are dedicated to black people. And you're right, there are many black men who did good things and black women who did good things who married Europeans. That's cool. They just will not inherit the £150,000 share, the 150 grand share. They won't get it. And their children will get less because obviously their children have European ancestors who weren't enslaved. So the 6 share diagram wouldn't work for them. They will only receive, like this gentleman down here, 450,000, which is a lot, but they won't receive as much because it's based upon shares of head. Does that make sense, Stan?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
You already know my opinion of your idea.
Well, thank you very much, because you being triggered by this demonstrates it's going on a good path, because we understand that many.
I'm not. You know what? I'm disappointed. I thought you were smart, and acting like a white fool is disappointing.
So let me just pause you for 4 seconds, because it's very interesting. So already name calling comes out, and remember, and this is for us to learn. We are trying to come up with a concept where black people get reparations and retain the wealth. Because we are excluding Europeans from this concept, men who choose not to marry black women are very triggered by this, to the point where they're just been completely disheveled on an actual live broadcast, and they cannot wait to speak what they want to speak. And this is because, like I said, the self-hatred and it's gone undiagnosed for so long that it's a natural reaction to fight and spit and foam from the mouth at concept of black people trying to actually get reparations to fix the legacy of racism.
You know, it's very interesting. You know, so hold on. You know, it's very interesting, Brother Ravi. You see, like in the Middle East, right? If you are, for example, if you're like an Arab, for example, and you're not married an Arab woman, etc., that the children will not get no benefits. You see, in the Italian way of the mafia, etc., and that if they go out their race, then the biracial African cannot go in any form of leadership, let alone any form of resources. And the Asian community do the same thing. Hold on, right? They all understand that in order to preserve the race, we're not going to think individually what we've done, think about the collective. And it's very interesting how a member of our community doesn't understand your individualism is causing hardship for us as African people, or black people, if you want to use that. Very interesting, man.
Very true. Well, thank you, Brother Keller. Brother Stanley, did you want to give more defense to Europeans?
I don't think that fighting racism with racism is a solution.
Okay. So we give thanks because we understand the diagram works. If it's triggering people who've made choices not to be with black people, which is fine. No one should be denied inheritance of what they're owed, but we can say you can tally up down to your actual family that we could observe who were actually descendants of enslaved rather than those who weren't. And also, we are concerned that there might be strategies to take money out of the black community. And obviously, maybe Brother Stanley might be part of that process. Maybe he's well integrated into content.
You know what? You're casting aspersions, and
of course,
I think you're triggered.
Yeah.
You are literally trying to tell people what I think, or maybe Stanley. I'm unhappy with the way you choose to conduct your critique.
Okay. Yes. Right. So remember, we talk about institutions over individuals and ideas as well. So we're talking about ideas now, and the idea is how do we try to divide reparations to maximize that it stays within the black community, because we know that we're collectively inadequate. And to your response is me, but this is not about me. This is about the idea. So you could look at an idea like this and you could say, you know what? I see where you're coming from, but I think we should actually give people more money if they've got Europeans in, and this is your concept. And you explain, okay, let's make this more money, and then you justify why. But you're not doing that. What you're doing is you're doing what's called drive-by criticism, where you wait for black people to come with something, and then you just criticize. And the criticism comes because we're not including Europeans. But what I'm saying is, when you have a black-focused concept, you're not going to include the people who have benefited from black people for hundreds of years, are you?
So, Brother Raven, by this demonstration, it tells us that we shouldn't really go out of our race due to this conflict here now, right? So it's not going to work, Brother Stanley, man.
You're right.
Shouldn't go outside of your race. But I wanted to ask you, hey, Rap, have you heard of William Darity?
Go ahead.
He's a black man, economics professor at Duke University.
Okay, nice.
Do an Amazon search. He's written several books, but the one that I'm thinking of, I can't recall the title. Darity, Darrety. He has a better idea than yours about reparations.
Okay, well,
how about I can tell you didn't read before you threw together this idea.
Right. So do you know what a thought exercise is, brother?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you know what a thought exercise is? This is a thought exercise. So the idea
you know what? Let's go through the exercises for the
4 seconds because it might be challenging you. So the idea is we put down ideas. We do it week to week. You probably missed other shows, and then we iterate and we refine and we scrap and we renew concepts to start conversations about how things could work in a certain scenario. So what we don't want to do is get triggered. But the problem we're going to face is so many black people are so tied to Europeans that any concept we do will cause tremendous anxiety. So if we say we've got a campaign to make black men love black women, there are going to be certain black men, they're going to have heart attacks. They're going to think, oh my goodness, you want me to marry a black woman? And they might even jump over a bridge or something like this. We're saying that we can't govern what's best for black people by the reaction of unsynchronized black men, can we? That's not a good idea.
Can I
That's what we describe as a bad idea. Now, what I'm saying is, what is it that you're trying to achieve here? Because we're trying to achieve communication.
I'm trying to make you. I'm not trying to achieve anything. I'm trying to critique your idea. You
I've
said
got a question
the
for you.
purpose of the space. I vote scrap your idea. You
Okay,
use
thank
the
you,
word.
Dan.
I scrap it.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead, sister.
So on the right hand side, right?
Mm.
Because I think the amount of I don't know, this almost like stories of all these people who have been mixed or whatever and I'm looking over to the right hand side and the individual still gets a payout.
Yes.
So that again is just because I mean there was more militant suggestions, just like if you have two black parents and you get it, and if you don't, you don't. So this is actually a more lenient one,
It's
and you're
much more
still getting,
lenient.
yeah, and it's still getting complaints.
Of course.
But, exactly.
But this is what we were saying, sister, wasn't it, last week, remember? Not that you should take certain complaints serious at all, but what we're saying is, what we do is, you'll jump in after I say this, of course. What you do, you set like a very simple premise that has some kind of logic and some kind of system to it, and then you iterate, you refine it. So, for example, sister, we could say, this thing here, we want it that the brother doesn't inherit anything, and this concept only goes to his father, to which he then, if he wishes to give stuff to his son, so be it. I think we talked about that concept last week as well, right?
Yeah.
So, and by all means, that could be a strategy. Now, the thing is, no matter what we pick, the anxiety will always be very high, especially amongst black men who have spent their life trying to be with the daughters of white men, and they will have a heartburn and this kind of stuff, right? But there has to be a method to what we're doing, and hopefully you're seeing now why we do things at a certain kind of shallow place and then we iterate, because it would just cause pandemonium.
Is your method above critique?
Let me ask you a question. So the individual there, on the right hand side, the son who dated outside the race.
Yes.
Do you think in today's climate, because this is what it's supposed to be based on now, not in slavery, but in this climate now, do you think that would make the black brother more appealing to outside race, knowing that he's got, how much has he got there? 300?
450,000.
450.
Yes, definitely. Oh, definitely. Yes. It'll make him 20 million times more people, and the woman and the black. Because remember, this will work for the black men and black women.
I'm saying, do you think that? So I'm talking about the brother right now, knowing our situation, and the mindset of a lot of brothers, especially in the UK.
Yes.
And the current statistics of a certain sector of us just dying out.
Yes.
So now we're here, but tomorrow we've given them all as a base 450,000.
That's right.
Right. So I'm sure you're people are getting rabbits for
No, here's where it is problematic. But here's the issue.
What I'm saying is,
I don't know if you can hear me. Here's the issue, sister. Right?
I hear you. It's just that
no matter what we
problematic.
No matter what we do, and we said it last week, as soon as black people receive reparations, there'll be a Chinese man with an afro who says, "I'm black." There'll be an Indian woman who says, "I've always been black. I've got more men than most."
Jesus Christ! Archie Bunker, you are.
And you'll find that if ever there was a person who found black people grotesque, all of a sudden, black people are the most beautiful people. Please marry me. This is something that you will have. Whenever money is divvied out, this is what people do. If you go to the job center, you'll see this, right?
Yeah, I was one of the main people saying that last week, hence me bringing up the point. So I get all of that. But what I'm saying is that in this day and age now, we give these brothers with the mindset that they've got now 450,000. I'm saying that I would just be interesting if it would be what would draw their desires stronger. So on this, we're hoping it's the financial desire over all of the other factors to why black men are predominantly dating out. It outweighs all of that pull, on top of the facts now that they're actually got some wealth behind them.
Yes. One thing, sister, one thing I want to draw as well is the brother who's married a European will not inherit their £150,000 marriage inheritance, right? And I suspect that will be another motivation for why black men would want to marry black women, limiting their pool to only black women, because they know that if I marry a black woman, I've got £150,000 coming after 5 or 10 years. Right?
I'm saying to you, I'm just saying to you that I don't know if that pool would be strong enough. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we understand now that what the pools that are drawing black men to white women now they're psychological, they're systematic, it's been fed from by the media. I'm preaching to the choir here. We know there's very strong factors, self-hate.
Yes.
So I'm saying that what I'm into you is knowing that I'll get an extra 150,000 over all of the other stuff that we know that they are battling with. It'd be interesting to see which pool would be stronger.
Well, what we could do is we could ask miscegennists how they feel. We don't really know. To me, Brother Stanley is someone who's open to universal love. So, Brother Stanley, do you think?
You're calling on me?
Of course. If we could go back in time and you were just dating, do you think that if you had £150,000 incentive to marry a black woman, do you think that will heighten the chance of you marrying a black woman?
Okay, let's stop with that question. I don't agree with it. Frame it better.
How else would you want me to frame it? That is the question.
Did a black man in America have a choice?
Okay,
150 years ago?
Okay, Stanley, let's just be hypothetical. Okay?
Well, no, don't defend this boy.
Listen.
It is a boyish 150 years ago, understanding the history. Christy, please, Christy, please, let me finish.
Go ahead, Stanley.
When you ask such a question, you have to understand the history of 150 years ago. Were there choices? If the answer is no,
why are we going back
then the question is invalid.
You're not 150.
How about use your brain, Raven?
Why are you going to 150 years? He asked you about before you got married.
Raven said 150 years ago. Raven asked.
He said go.
Raven asked about 150 years ago.
Stop it. I'm going to mute Stanley because you're not listening to the sisters, and that's not correct. I'm just going to mute you for 4 seconds before I put you down the forum. I didn't say that. What they're saying is we said 150,000. With the incentive of 150,000, how would that impact the choices you make back before?
150,000 years ago?
No, dollars, $150,000 as an incentive to be with someone within your group. Would you view that as an incentive to stay within group? That's his question.
I would call it pimping black people.
Right.
Pimping. So who would be the hoe and who? I don't get that. Why would giving them money as an incentive?
The pimp would be Raven's idea.
So you don't believe in incentivizing anything? Is that what you're saying? That an incentive don't work?
Certainly not marriage. Who you love? Should that be incentivized? Who you love? Should you get money for loving someone? That's a dumb idea, and it's racist.
No, it's actually not. It's actually not. Like there are undercover there are incentives that we have right now that I
made that argument.
If I was Asian, right, an incentive in marrying another Asian person is that the passing on and solidifying the culture that I have as an Asian person. That's an intangible
it's not
incentive.
Reparations.
Well, no, listen. What I'm saying is that's an intangible incentive. So I don't think that incentives are in itself is a bad thing. Right?
That's not my argument.
So then why are tangible incentives
basing ADOS reparations on who you marry is ridiculous, and it's basically racist. Who you inherit money from, which is your argument, I don't care.
This is again, as I pointed out before, it's very high anxiety for the because
No,
we just
my high anxiety is just Rat
you said
Raven's
you're willing
stupid
to do.
argument.
Okay, so you
I
said
would
you're
be
willing to do a
totally
case
for the
study
money.
at any time. You said that to us. You said that several
And
times.
I would
So he is
never
asking you
be
a
for the
question.
money.
So listen, let me tell you,
Okay,
Raven,
but
as a
that's all you
Black
had to
American
say.
woman, as a
So,
Black
so the
American woman, I would.
150,000 wouldn't incentivize you if you was just dating. As a young guy, you was dating, and you knew that if I got with a sister, we'd get a payout because of our shared history of trauma that we shared.
No,
Would that incentivize you more? That's all we're
no,
asking.
no,
Okay.
I've
no
got another
money.
question.
And I have a reason for saying this. 60 years down the line, it's $150,000 payment for being with the wrong woman. It's not.
And can I ask a question? You see, if you are a Yoruba person and you marry a Black person from, I don't know, Papua New Guinea, do you still get the 150, even though that person's not an African, but they're
So
Black and they're being colonized?
so this is a very simple diagram. So what we've done is we've said, okay, if England had to pay back reparations for the colonized and enslavement, this is one grand way of doing it. But what you might do is you might actually have the same chart for French, Spain, whoever else, where so you apply different tasks for them. So some of the people you have to establish who colonized them and their claims.
Papua
But
New
then
Guinea is colonized by Britain.
it would be the same then. If it was colonized, then it would be colonization. It would be the same.
Oh, okay.
So, Brother Raven, with that it should have been as painful as it was. But we asked the question to a brother who has dated out, married out.
Yes.
And he said no.
Of course. Well, the truth of the matter is,
but listen,
I have a problem with that response.
I think no, but I just want to say, right, that diagram there is probably the most politically correct that we could get on that, right? Do you know what I mean? And you're still going to have people complain regardless. But what I'm saying is that reparations in this current climate, by the time we get to the sun, that money's gone.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's gone.
Oh dear.
Well, of course. But
you're going to have to present this type of argument better. Again, you are unprepared to talk about reparations.
You're not even
read Sandy Darity.
You're not
read before you present an idea. It would help.
You're mistaking 150,000 pounds to 150 years ago. You're not even
reading is fundamental. Raven has not done his homework.
Listen, everyone. We have promoted Black love, and Black people come together, and that will always trigger misogynists, and we have to be merciful to them because they've lived the everyday lifestyle of going into other communities and trying to be best in other communities. So there is no other response I expected from anyone who behaves such a way, and I would say that naturally this is why we use terms as open door elitism, where when a person has done certain actions and they're in self-sabotage mode, you help them by osmosis. I'm just going to mute you for 4 seconds, bro. Then you can jump in. But you can never let them into any kind of business meeting because you see what we're doing here. As we're trying to fight it, they'll be constantly screaming, shouting, throwing paint out, ringing Europeans, going, "You guess what's happening here? They're trying to fix themselves," everything like that. And remember, I told you I was in Speaker's Corner, and I said, "Let's not swear for the elderly and for the children." I was public enemy number one for suggesting this. As soon as the Anglo algorithm said it and it paid them for it, they're as quiet as a church mouse. They will not say any swear word. They have proper English. They have no slang, everything. They don't even take any risk. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like there's what people say and how people act. So our brother Stan is saying things now, but who knows? Maybe if 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and if there was an incentive, maybe today he'll be speaking different. You see, and this
you know what? Can Brother Stanley respond?
You have so far, but go ahead.
I said I put check the back text. Um, this that's my response.
Okay, brother.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
For primarily Brother Stanley, but I guess anyone else could answer. If there was $150,000 incentive to marry a white woman, specifically a white woman, would you go
Nope.
and seek out white women?
Marrying for money is pretty
No, that's not
much
marrying for
dumb.
money. You're gonna get married anyway. Not like like you're gonna get married anyway. This is
Right.
literally
Well, not
like
necessarily.
listen, if I was gonna pay you $100, right, to go to only shop at Target as opposed to Walmart, would you feel some sort of pressure? You'd be like, well, I need paper towels. Who cares if I'm gonna actually make money on getting my paper towels? Why wouldn't you say, oh no, I'm gonna go to Target and forget that $100? You would go get them from Walmart, wouldn't you?
Can I? Can
Especially
are you
because you're a
talking
person that
about
love has no.
dowries? Like a
No,
European concept of reward for marrying a certain person? Because
as
my
well, it's not a
whole
reward. A dowry is not a
my
reward. That's a
whole thing is marrying for money is a white person's concept.
Well, the way that you're looking at a dowry by calling it a reward, it's actually insurance.
Insurance,
Yes,
really?
I insure my vehicle
Is it
before I'm able
still
to drive off.
no?
Let me
Marrying
Stanley,
a
Stanley,
woman is not car
Stanley,
insurance.
I'm just
Stanley.
going to mute.
Let
The
someone else.
comparison is dumb.
I'm just going to mute Stanley for 40. I'm just saying that
Mhm.
when it comes to people playing both sides of the fence, we have to be very careful. So, one issue, Stanley is not best pleased that we're practicing a European concept. But on the other hand, he's marrying into European families. So once again, it's playing both sides of the fence. Be
An
very
American family.
you have to-
Y'all are in
You're
Europe. I'm not.
right. So
the
would you say
people, but the people there descend from Europe, just like we descend from Africa, which is why we're
Right.
African American.
Right.
So they're
Well,
European American.
let's
Get it,
just
get it
say
correct.
an African.
let's just say white people just to minimize anxiety. So here's
Yeah. If you think I'm not
Yeah.
anxious, I'm amused, Rap.
well, I'm sure.
So,
Listen,
brother Raven, we can say that they marry non-African women for a bit of access in the system of white supremacy. You know what I mean? Whether it be payout or
Definitely.
whatever, it's still you'll be able to maneuver better than those who prefer to stay in their race. So, brother Stanley, and I got respect for him. He's our brother and that, but he's definitely holding on to that access of privilege,
yes.
which is had, when he was in that situation. Yeah, man. The case study has been
It's
dropped here.
very good. And remember the both sides of the fence concept where the brother is not best pleased with the so-called European racist concept, but married into the European family. So once again, this argument sadly disqualifies any kind of real claim on any kind of merit because it's inconsistent, you see. And this is what we're trying to get here is consistency, meaning we are here for black people to progress. So all the ideas are based on black people and we center Africans and black people in the conversation. Right now, this is a conversation about reparations, and we're centering European. So remember, we started the show with the double dilemma, and that is black people are collectively inadequate, but also collectively have no friends. So that means we have to have a smaller elite who have proven that they can stay dedicated to that concept. And unfortunately, certain brothers, because of who they've chosen to marry, are identifying the anxiety that is going to be always triggered in important meetings because you're not including the people who've already benefited from our downfall.
You know what was interesting though, because it kind of just brought me back to what I was trying to say. Because when Brother Cal was talking about the privilege, it's interesting, right? Because I was saying that there's many factors as to why a lot of black men are dating out, the psychology of it all as well. And obviously the access to privilege, the perception of acceptance until it hits the fan, but that illusion. So now you've got a brother who's dealing with all of that, and now you've given him a kind of privilege, right?
Can I respond?
Can I finish, Stanley?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So you're now giving them a form of privilege, financial privilege. I just find it just very interesting that what privilege will, will it cancel it out? I don't necessarily think it would. Do I think that now there will be more desirable to outside partners? Yeah, I think if they're not chucking themselves at them now, they'll definitely will be chucking themselves at them more now, because at least at this point they've got some form of privilege on them. So I think it's just quite interesting, because when you hear someone like Stanley, he's talking about, well, marrying for money, like we ain't living in a capitalistic world right now, right? So it's just
okay, but isn't marrying for money a capitalist thing?
350,000, 150,000. It's not just about the money; it's what you actually
Why
get.
would you have money? Money is essentially capitalist.
Conversation. If you're just going to cut in and cut out, you can't even.
No.
That's why you're not even understanding what you're arguing about. You mistaked £150 to 150 years a second ago.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, hold on, Brother Stein. I was going to say, right, that with this strategy here, because of that investment, it will be very difficult to fight white supremacy with that particular mindset. Not to say it's just Brother Stanley, because they're always going to be thinking about the best interests. So in a sense, you have to kind of like, you've got no choice but to fight against it, to be fair in that. Because the white man, as what Garvey says, the white man, he's a master at the media and subdued people to think his way. So he doesn't really have to fight us like that. We can just fight ourselves by this mindset, man. And it's very interesting tonight, man. Even though I grew up on this, but the way how it's being broken down, if we thought like Brother Stanley or Unsynchronized African, we can't win this war, man. We've literally genocided our own race.
We'll get our own way.
Yeah, man.
Well, let me respond to that. Y'all keep dumb people will be the demise of the black race. I think smart black people are the hope of the black race, and I have not heard a smart argument with Rap's idea.
Okay, Brother Stanley, would you identify yourself as a smart black person?
You know what? I wouldn't before I joined this conversation.
Do you want to present a smart argument for reparations then?
Don't be racist like white people. That's my argument.
Okay, then that's top tier. That's profound.
So, but do you make a delineation between white people and the people you marry? Is that two different kind of things? Would you say?
Black men do what black men want to do. Black women. Freedom was the whole point to the American Civil War at the end. Black people want to be free. Black people want to be free and not follow your rule.
Let me for 4 seconds.
Free love was.
Yeah. So remember when we talk about being collectively inadequate, what will happen is we will, we will package up concepts. So while other communities are talking about dedication, commitment, being consistent, maintaining culture, we will then repackage like the opposite of that, of like being, ignorant, being solo, not saving, not building for tomorrow. And we're all packaged into that very whimsical, nice words like Brother Stanley just did there. And I'm saying that this is how inadequacy works. You see, like we don't just come out and say we're useless. We'll make failure success. You see, and this happens a lot in Speaker's Corner, a lot, right? It's like how can you package up losing? You see, rather than winning, how can we make losing seem like it's winning, right? And unfortunately, we see a lot of that. Unfortunately, in our music industry, where people will gloss over failure concepts or pain concepts and make it very sexy and attractive. And I'm saying that when we give Brother Stanley the floor to demonstrate what a black intelligent person is, he declined. I'm saying that, what we see consistently is drive-by criticism of concepts and then no contribution past that. So the idea is, if you're not including Europeans in any kind of betterment scheme, you will enrage the unsynchronized black man. You will enrage them. They will be like a beast unchained. And we should be merciful to them because they don't know any better. And how can they know any better? If they knew better, they would do it. And like the sister, she dropped very good wisdom here. My sister again.
System, just like white people are taught racism, black people are taught self-hate.
Thank you, sister. Very wise words there. And this is something that we can't look past. That self-hate is why when we look at things like this.
What race do you prefer?
Yours.
This is why they put all these kind of emojis and stuff to show the great. So he started by what you could say about what do you look for in a man, but he went for race. And then when the race he was selected by a European, joy and jubilation times 10. You see, nothing better than this, right?
Okay.
He can't even speak. Yeah, he's heaven above heaven. And this is what I'm saying, that how do we know we haven't been conditioned? How do we know that so beaten is our self-esteem that we have no idea the choices we're making have been governed by someone else? I would say that Brother Stanley has given us a great case study of someone who doesn't even understand the argument but trying to shut it down because the people he most appreciates are not included in the concept where they were the benefactors of destroying his group. And we will never observe Brother Stanley's in the Palestinian War. We'll never observe Brother Stanley in the Nazi-Jew war. We'll never observe Brother Stanley in any kind of two-tier back and forth conflict where one has been devastated. It's a very unique thing that black people have. And that's because, unfortunately, for many years, we have been taught subservience. Yeah, we've been taught self-hate, like the sister says. And when you've done that for so many years, it actually becomes culturalized. So you can actually, everything you spew can be anti-black, but we don't even recognize it because it's so normalized. Everything Brother Stanley said there is anti-black, it's anti-African, it's anti-progression. But the brother has dressed it up into a whimsical, don't be racist. We said before, and this is a very important point, to compare black people and white people is a form of racism, you see. You see, if black people try to fix racism and we do actions and you say, well, if white people did that, that'd be racist, that in itself is racism because, like I said, we gave a diagram before, and let's show you here for those who are new. Let's see if we can find it.
I think Brother Musa's in the back, bro.
Let me get him up here, Brother Musa. Sadly, Brother Musa, we're out of space. Sister Bay, have you still there? Is it cool if we replace you for a bit? You have been.
I don't mind dropping off, I don't mind dropping off, Brother Raven.
I would prefer you here for a bit to be full. But Sister Bay, is that okay, or would you like to stay? Let me know.
Oh, okay, I can leave then. Okay, then pick up everybody.
Thank you, Sister
Hey,
Bay.
Betty,
Big up, sister. Big up, sis.
There you go. Brother Musa, welcome.
Yeah, I didn't want you to send someone away for me to be. Yeah, I didn't want you.
Well, it's Raven's fault. He can't afford more than
Right. Well, Brother Stan,
this is unsynchronized. Brother Stan, unsynchronized.
But don't worry, Stanley. He's gonna be with a black woman.
It was a joke. Now, can an unsynchronized person make a joke?
And I'm joking too.
Synchronized people don't make jokes.
You don't have to overtalk people. I'm going to make my joke as well. He's going to get his £150,000 because he's going to be with a black woman, so he'll be able to afford it. Don't worry. See,
you know what? But he won't be with you.
We can both make jokes.
Right. So, Brother Stanley, just to
mine was better melanated.
Right. Well, we don't want to go there. Like I said, we love black women here, and that's just how it works. So remember, we practice black betterment. If white people were to practice anything,
so you have a new guest. Why are you doing this?
Well, hold on. I'm going to explain because you're in the area of confusion.
I understood it from the start.
Stanley, he is talking to the guest. He's speaking so the guest can.
My bad.
Right. So we have white repayment versus black betterment. So if white people wanted to get together and fix the damages that Europeans have done historically and pay back reparations in isolation, we would call them white repayment or white repayers. That's their time. This is a fancy job that will never exist, I suspect. But if a European wanted to join black betterment, we would say, why don't you do your own thing? But we're using that as also a side analogy, saying that for black people to focus on black issues is not racism. It's fixing the legacy of racism. You cannot compare black people working together versus white people working to exclude black people. It's very two different things. It comes down to power and history, right? But once again, this is something that you can learn off of many times. But Brother Musa, we're actually kind of run out of time at the moment because we do have a 2-hour show. But is there anything you would like to say on the two topics, which are what you've missed today was abolish interracial marriage. We discussed if interracial marriage should be abolished and who gets reparation. Should black people lose reparation claims based on who they marry? Now, this has caused much anxiety, as we suspect, but we've, it's just something that happens. But this is what the two topics were about. Do you have any issues, any views on the issues, I should say?
It's a very interesting subject matter. Obviously, because of the history that we come from, and what has been happened, and we've been westernized, and we're living in the Western Hemisphere. It could be overwhelming to some people to try to straighten out what historical injustice has happened to us, and it can be rather than to go through the difficulty in trying to repair. It's easier to accept things as they are. Does that make sense? Because to challenge the actual, to go against generations of what has happened to us is too exhausting. It's easier to accept things as they are. Does that make sense?
Wait, is this what you're saying as to why people do date interracially? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that I perfectly understand. I'm saying I perfectly understand black love or black relationship unity. I perfectly understand it. But because that is no longer a norm for some black people, they've accepted the reality of multiculturalism above everything else, because it's easier to go with this, it's easier to go with the status quo than to challenge it, because to challenge it is a alternative and is exhausting to some people that are not willing to put that much energy into resisting or repairing generational emotional trauma and damage for 500 years.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So, Brother Musa, you might have missed, but before we end the show, just to tell you and anyone who joined in late now, we had a thought exercise, and it was how potentially could you share reparations via inheritance, right? And we were saying that if we did it in a 6-person share, meaning each person gets 150,000 based upon their parents and grandparents being from either enslaved or colonized people, then that way certain people might get more because of who their parents and grandparents are, but also giving £150,000 to a person additionally if they marry a black person for more than 5 or 10 years. So we push ideas of how the goal was to how would you create a scenario where black people inherit money but they don't give it out to they try to invest it within black communities or keep it within the black family and this kind of stuff. So these were some of the strategies we came up. This strategy caused much anxiety to people, well, to Brother Stanley, unfortunately, who felt that he wanted to have more of an inclusion of Europeans in the process, but this entire concept was to black focused, and it was stage one. We might refine it for next week. We might make it more stricter, even more anxiety. But we're just starting this. That's what we're doing.
I'm still, for me, I'm still. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that for me, still pondering over. But I still think kind of. For me, it's like, okay, when I'm looking at the right, it's the inheritance as well. Whereas if the on the second column, if you only got his payment, then there's only 150 getting lost out compared to what's that? What would that be?
Well, sister, let me say this.
Can
you hear me? Oh, it's my phone.
Yeah.
The way you got to see this, and this is for us to talk about as well, is every black person is getting a potential share, right? Meaning that this brother here, we can put, if we put this brother and we put him here, say, we put him here, then this brother would get all this share, and he would, but then he would get I think 900,000 maybe, just by being, just because both his parents and both his grandparents are actually black or a descendant of enslaved people or colonized people. But he still married a European, so this individual would receive pretty much that much, or maybe 900,000, while his kid would receive 450,000. You see, so
yeah, I'm just, for me, I understand where you're going with it, but I just think for me, I'm still kind of torn in between it just being where you've got on the one where you're doing the interracial, and on the second line, instead of him getting the parents, his mum, his dad, and his payment, it would just be his payment going out.
Right. So what you're saying is so ultimately by marrying a non-black woman, no offspring can inherit from this moving forward. You're saying?
Yeah, because instead of getting, if they're each at 150, you're getting from both parents, so that's already 3, plus the 150 that you're getting, that's 450. And now he's marrying out. That's a lot of money coming out. But if everyone gets the money who they're entitled to and not get an extra top up from your parents, then I just think that's less money getting taken out by then.
So with me and my
she's right.
I would agree. I would agree. I would agree. However,
and remember that the family will still get it. So
yeah, I hear that.
Dad there's got the money. The grandma there has got the money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
the whole family's been millionaires.
Exactly.
Right?
It's up to them to keep it within their wealth.
Family, yeah.
Like,
That's actually a very good argument there. I do suspect though, the offspring of black people with non-black people will pick up a case. So for example, you have scenarios where unfortunately the black man has impregnated a European and disappeared, unfortunately. And then so the offspring doesn't know the black person, but they don't want to be penalized because they want their own individual inheritance, because they can't trust that their father who disappeared will give them it. And these are the scare scenarios we have to build in our head.
Yeah, but that, I mean, wouldn't put those kinds of, that's domestics. They wouldn't put domestic clause on another community's payout.
No, what I'm saying is, whenever you have people who are going to rival, like for example, Brother Stanley was fighting because obviously he's married to a European. That's his argument, whatever. But what other people will say is, I am a descendant of enslaved people, and I want my own individual inheritance, and I don't want to be cut because my parent chose to not be with a black woman. And that biracial person could say, well, actually goes, I've married a black woman. So what do you know what I mean? They could. I'm just thinking of, these are the remember, you're going to get so many different responses. It's about how do we not include, but how do we have explanations that make these flow?
Can I respond?
Was there a question? I'm not too sure. But okay.
Yeah, you talked about how I think. You sound like a little like you want to control outcomes of black men or black people. Synchronization You can't do that. Black people we fought for our freedom.
Thank you,
And
Brother Stanley.
you would
Is there any other questions?
restrict
Yes.
Black people's freedom being
Yes.
synchronized.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So restrictive and limited behavior is part of being organized.
You are not our dictator.
No,
Yeah,
but once again,
Can I-
you're creating your own scenario because of Europeans have been not included in a reparations claim.
I have to create a scenario because you're not giving me one.
It's a very sad night, man. Very sad night, man.
You know what? I just want to allow me to respond to what Stanley's angle is, because Stanley,
I don't have an angle. I like smart Black people. And
okay, but Stanley,
that's my angle.
Stanley, you're African American, right? What part of America are you from? What state? What city?
Georgia. Even raw. Very interesting. All right, watch this. Supposing I'm watching.
Supposing that this was a panel and we were all Jewish people, and we was responding to how we could improve our situation or how we can make a comeback from the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And we were discussing how, these different ideas. Then would it not be healthy within Jewish people's self-interest to pull their resources together to repair the historical...
Can I respond?
Hold on, let me finish.
It doesn't take long to identify.
Let him finish his question.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. So let him respond. Go on. I want to hear.
Wow.
I would expect smart Jewish people to propose ideas, and I hold the same standard. Smart Black people should propose ideas. That's my answer. Accept it or not. I will mute.
But did Jewish people put ideas together to improve their situation, and thus are in a better position today than they was in World War II.
True.
So because they don't have these hiccups,
that's a historical.
So what Black person was present at the table?
Jewish people ran. They did fleeing Germany or Europe during World War II wasn't an idea. It was survival. You need to read a history book.
No. Listen. What Black people were at the table when the Jewish people were? What Black person was at the table when Jewish people who ran? I don't want you to. Okay, that's what he's saying. They did it with themselves.
That's not what he's saying. Why are we talking Black and Jewish to begin with? Why do Black people have to be compared with Jewish people? I think
I'm just giving you a.
It could have been Chinese people. It could have been Chinese.
I'm gonna mute. Y'all hash out a question and
Stan, you're running. Stan, you're dodging. Stan, you're running. You're playing hide and seek. Stan. You're hide and seeker.
4 seconds before we lose control. So
Rap keeps muting me.
I'm just going to mute you, then remove you.
Because
he's controlling me.
Of course,
Stan, you're hide and seeker. Stan, you do hide and seek.
I'm right here.
We don't want to back and forth that repeats ourselves because that's what we're gonna. The case study's already done. We know. Brother Stan. I'm just gonna move you down for 4 seconds, Stan, and move you back up just to make it easier to communicate. I know it takes time to cool down. Yeah. So the thing is, this will always happen. And well done to the panel for not being like outraged and shocked, because we have to expect that this is what happens, right? What it will demonstrate is no solution was given by Brother Stanley, and he was very triggered. He name called here and there, which he then said was jokes, but we'll take that. But what happens is this will be the normal behavior of most unsynchronized Black men whenever you try to focus on Black people and not include Arabs or Europeans or whatever like this. But this is what it is. This is what you're dealing with. So at some point we do need like a very tightening of the belt, a strict. And I think what Sister Kush was saying and Brother Kel, they're saying that this behavior might be indicative of people with Europeans or non-black people in their family because they're naturally trying to care for their family. And my thing is, we need to have a balance where we include people of African ancestry who are descendants of enslaved people or colonized people. By the same token, we recognize that there's other people groups who are not from there, and they can benefit or they can actually hinder certain claims. So it's how we do that. Next week, maybe I'll do the same diagram where I'll shift it up. So maybe we're saying that if you marry a non-black person, then everything past that point is no claim, and it's up to you to divvy out your particular unique money to your children. That might be part two. Just refinement. That will cause tremendous anxiety. That will cause brothers to literally, this is dangerous. This is dangerous now. Their health would be at risk, so we have to be very careful how we deliver this. But we bring Brother Stanley back. We want to join Brother Stanley next week where we reiterate and we refine the actual diagram. I warn you that unfortunately,
you know what? All I asked for were better diagrams with data. Thank you, Rap. You will help us when you think.
Yes, of course. But one thing we have to draw attention to is brothers like Stanley. They do a process known as drive-by criticism, as in they'll drive by and they'll critique, but they'll never
Dude,
step up.
I've been on your show several times. I'm not driving by. I'm listening. I'm a regular person on your show.
We have to make sure we don't produce. We have to make sure we don't produce self-sabotaging specialists, and this is what happens. And us keeping calm and being constructive.
I'm not sabotaging you. I'm critiquing you.
We're just doing analysis, Bro Stanley. I'm sure there's different opinions. But what it is by being calm and collective and stoic and just remembering that this is inevitable, because we start every show by saying, unfortunately, we're dealing with, and we're going to go to the beginning for those who don't know, and this is how the show will always start from now on. We're dealing with the double dilemma, and that is black people can be individually efficient but collectively inadequate. And black people may know a friendly non-black person. However, collectively, black people have no friends. And by recognizing that, we're going to have to really streamline the community. I use the term open door elite. And when people are showing self-sabotage syndrome, we have to help them by osmosis, but they cannot really be in any kind of board meeting or any kind of governance, because they will have heart problems and they will sabotage every step of the way. And this isn't healthy for them or for the community. So we excuse them for their own actions. What will be interesting, though, is what will happen, I suspect, is right now it's very fashionable to be very angry and aggressive when black people try to help black people. But when they start realizing that they're not included, they'll then put on a brave face and they'll try to come with a calm face and sabotage calmly. And that'll be stage two. Yeah. As in say all the pro-black stuff, but when they're in the meetings, then they start sabotaging. You see? So right now we can see them from a mile away because they can't control themselves, foaming from the mouth when you don't include European women in any kind of agenda. But you can see them remarking. But what's going to happen is there going to be people who come in very calmly, but when you start the meetings, the first thing they're going to do is, how can we help Europeans? That's the first thing. How can we help them? Like has been demonstrated today. Can everyone have their last say? Because we have gone half an hour past, and we do have limited time and stuff. So last ones will be fantastic, everyone.
Yeah, I just want to say we have to be very careful how we invest our dopamines, because without monitoring it, it kind of causes detriment to us as a people. So great case study, Brother Raven and the Sun Sisters and some Brother Stanley, man. So Black Betterment, man.
Hey, thank you, Carol. I have a last comment. Do better, Rap. Do better.
Yeah, I'll just say another good show. It was a shame that Brother Stanley couldn't hold down his anxiety a bit. So, more could have been discussed rather than...
I so apologize, because
I mean, there was much more than just a bunch of pictures on the screen, Stanley, So it would have been nice to explore this a bit more. But as the brothers have said, you've been a great case study. So we give thanks.
We give thanks.
I fulfill my role.
I just wanted to say, shame on you, Raven, for trying to take away these brothers' good, milky white women. You know they were gonna be upset.
You are bad.
You know they're gonna get upset. You know they're gonna
Holy
get
cow.
upset. You know they're gonna get upset when you try to do that, Raven. So next time, you gotta ease them into it. You know what I'm saying? Like ease them away from the mayonnaise. Bring a little soy sauce into their life. I'm
Can't
just
go
joking.
turkey.
Yeah, but it was a good show, very thought provoking, and really insightful to see that like how deep entrenched these concepts are, where people don't have necessarily a desire to be within their group anymore. So that's interesting.
That is very interesting. And incentivizing becomes almost insulting.
And
it's so
that's my
interesting
point.
when there's more.
Offering money to be amongst your group is insulting.
It's really interesting that, and I mean, this could be for future shows, Raven. If you look at why there's a difference between how many women date out and marry out than men, what is it about the psychology and of the experience that men have, that they have this "you love who you love" type of mentality, and the women are like, our people, our group, our children. Like women are more like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, not saying we don't date out at all. I'm not saying we don't, but it's a big difference, and I'm like, why? Why is that?
Okay, we'll do it next week. I've got the data on that. It might cause some anxiety here and there, but we have the data on that.
You know what? Send me an invitation. I will join. But melanated, you make an interesting point, and I'll see you at some point. I have a question for you, but not now. Rap wants to end.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. That'll be the topic. We'll make it very nice and juicy with the topic, but we'll try to present why we observe black men dating out at a high rate than black women, and also black men's concept of building and this kind of stuff, and what the values.
Well, I would suggest a new title: Can Black Men Do What They Want?
No, they can't. No, they can't. I can answer that quickly.
But
wait, I would say you're not a black man.
Wait,
well,
hold on.
Go ahead.
But I just want to say as well, there was no way we were saying that we were selling black women to men. I don't like that narrative that Stanley was saying, because to incentivize black love, it means all the good things that you could think of when you think of a black woman.
Will you get money?
Plus.
Let her finish.
Thank you, sis.
Okay.
Plus, now knowing that she has a form of wealth, just like it would be if you was dating anyone from any kind of elite and you knew they were from money. But Stanley, the only thing you saw was just the money factor, which kind of just puts a mirror to you, because you don't think of all of the other good things that comes with dating a black woman. All you heard was that you got.
That is so wrong, Costa.
It's about.
Well, you didn't listen. You didn't listen to the good things.
Exactly.
Very intelligent analysis by Sister Crochet.
A smart black woman
very
is a smart woman. How about how about take that point?
Right, so there's not back and forth. Sister was a good analysis there. We'll try to unpack what Melanie Goddess said about the why. Obviously, Brother Stanley, you'll be more than welcome next week, because your behavior will probably contribute to the understanding.
You know what? I'm sorry for speaking my mind. I know you're not used to black men criticizing black men. In your world, black men are synchronized, but I critique dumb ideas. And I'm sorry, your point of view on this, you know my opinion.
Is it a good idea for
Okay.
descendants of, brother? Is it a good idea for descendants of enslaved Africans to marry the enslaved Europeans? Is that a good idea?
On which continent, boy?
On the African American continent.
Let me ask you something, Stat.
African American continent?
As in on America.
Oh my goodness.
Stanley, why would you when he's talking about against Europeans,
African American continent. Is it called African American United States of America?
Stanley, why when you're having a conversation, right, with a black man, you would use racist terms from the times in which black people in America were oppressed by calling white men called black
enslaved,
men boy.
Not
no,
oppressed.
When they were
enslaved, not
Stanley,
oppressed.
during Jim Crow. No, during Jim Crow, they weren't slaves.
They were oppressed.
That's right.
And they were called
slavery.
boys.
That's right.
Are you
Black
listening? Are you
people
listening?
have two
Stop cutting me off.
different.
Raven, mute him. Mute him. Listen, they called black men boy. And when you hear Raven talking against white men, somehow your allegiance to your white oppressors got upset and made you call Raven a boy. You are a freaking white supremacist.
That's right.
What the hell?
I've just spoken to Cool. We're gonna have to end soon, but thank you, sister. The thing is, this should be all expected, and it's a good case study. And what we want to do, we want to present this. Like what you did there was amazing case study, and it will continue. And this is what happened. So this is what we are. This is what the part of the show is. But we have to really end there. So has everyone given their final thought? By the way,
I think that your diagrams are very good. Raven, very impressive. That you put these PowerPoints, presentation, case studies. I like the way you've put your material together. Very, very impressive. Yeah, I would definitely say is that yeah, you're definitely on the right track, and also yeah, it's just it's alarming to certain people like Stanley who are not. They're emotionally and spiritually they're not there. They're not there.
All right, family. So we're gonna say bye to everybody. Yep. Okay. We let him in, and he was talking to himself, and that was what he said. So we know where he's at. So we'll move again. But what we're gonna say is, very, very much, family. Until next week, Black Betterment to all, and to all Black Betterment. There you go.